Hello.
Hello.
Hey, all right. All right. Well, I have the stream muted. So.
Hey, everybody.
Hello. Are we heard? Are we
Can
here?
you hear us?
Can you hear me? I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can't hear any of you.
Oh no! What happened?
Oh, dear.
What?
I
What? Oh,
I can
she's
hear
fucking with us.
everybody.
Okay, all right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she's just fucking with us. I'm like, wait, we were talking for 15 minutes. What happened?
Huh?
Hey,
What'd you
there
say?
we go.
Huh?
We're getting
What?
responses from chat.
Hey.
There we go.
There we go. Yes.
Okay, can you hear everybody?
Hey, and the screen
You should hear
changed.
4 of us.
Awesome.
We got Fable here, who is the director on the Lackadaisy animated film project. We have Ashley here, who
Hi.
I'm sure you all know is from Honeycast and currently working on Hell Puppy. And we have Newt here, who is the Lackadaisy community manager and the 3D artist on the animated film. And me, I'm Tracy. I'm the comic creator. So hello, and we're gonna talk.
Newt is going to be our chat cowboy. He's gonna rustle the cattle for us.
The cattle.
Yeah, you have to go now.
Can I zap you with a newspaper from the continent away?
We'll just message Mike and be like, Mike, please roll up a newspaper for us, and just yeah.
All right.
My pun cannot be contained.
He'll do it. I'm his boss.
Oh fuck.
Oh no! They're like, look, I'll pay you extra. I have to bring him in on Tuesday anyway for the recording, and just be like, look, I need you to retroactively smack Ashley with a magazine if you can. He's like, sure, boss. Just walks over.
He would.
He would do it for free.
Yeah.
He would do it without me saying anything at all. He just does it, and he's like, why did I do that?
He just hits me in the head with a newspaper, and I'm just like, what's that for? And he's like, I don't know. You haven't done anything yet, but you will, I'm sure.
It's probably deserved. All right, everybody. Welcome to Shop Talk. This is going to be the first episode of a series we hope to do. And the basic premise is that we are an indie animation production, and we would like to bring on other indie animators on their own productions onto the chat to talk about the projects we are working on, the difficulties of making cartoons happen, how animation breaks your heart, and hopefully via Super Chat help fund said projects. We are going to be splitting the Super Chat with Ashley so that Help Puppy can get some more funding. Yeah. That way, make it even prettier, and the crew, well compensated, because they're sweet people. I'm also on the Hell Puppy crew team, and Ashley's been doing a great job of managing that. So, thanks, Ashley. You're doing a good job.
Well, thank you. Yeah, you and Newt are both on the team, I believe. So there's a bit of crossover.
You have acquired him off of our crew, essentially.
I found him, and I was like, I'm going to steal him and make him mine.
Yeah. You saw us going like, yeah, let's make the backgrounds in 3D, and you're like, need that.
I honest to God, I felt a tiny bit bad, like I was stealing y'all's idea, but I'm like, oh my God, making backgrounds in 3D, that's genius. Hey, you're a 3D artist, come here. I need you.
To be fair, we stole the idea from lots of people. It's nothing new. The new thing is using Blender for that rather than proprietary software or paying through the nose for Maya. And we specifically wanted to have Blender because it is free. It can work on most people's computers. So if we hand a shot to any member of the team, all they have to do is go and download Blender, make sure it's up to date, and there you go. They can just go. So we don't have to worry about licensing. Unlike Toon Boom, where I absolutely have to worry about licensing, I had to get in touch with the folks there, and I've had many conversations about bulk ordering licenses so that come cleanup time, everybody has the appropriate resources. Welcome to indie animation, where you don't have equipment, you use other people's equipment, so you have to work with what you got and accommodate them the best you can.
Yep. Thankfully, most people nowadays have Toon Boom, it seems. A lot of people are moving towards that.
Mm-hmm. It's Toon Boom and TV Paint. Although I did tell the animators, I was like, for your roughs, you can use any program. just make sure it conforms to what is required. Like, I'm going to need the audio in there. I'm going to need it to be at the right frame rate, the right size, everything, et cetera, et cetera. But if what you want to do is take it into TV Paint and animate there, because that's just more comfortable for you, I don't care, because rough animation is going to get traced over and colored over in Toon Boom anyway. So you might as well just get it to the point where it's like solid in there, rather than sitting there and like having to teach people like for a couple weeks like how to properly use Toon Boom if that's just not that comfortable for them.
Leah's
that's the
Studios
idea. Yeah.
would like to know, how much is Toon Boom?
You can go to, I think, harmony.com, and they have monthly pricing for Toon Boom depending on what level of Toon Boom you want, but I think you can get it for like as little as $60 a month. That's still kind of a tall order for a lot of people, but that's the difference between $60 a month versus like several $1,000s for the permanent license, which is in of itself kind of out of the way. And at least when you get their annual the annual subscription or the monthly subscription, any updates get rolled into it, so that's okay.
I think if you're a student, you can get it as little as like $8 a month.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, if you have a student ID.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, a lot of software.
Yeah, I remember. I technically was not in school anymore, but I had a school ID from college, and so for a good little while, I had Toon Boom for only like $8 a month, and that was phenomenal. And now I've upgraded to the permanent license. Nice. So I gave the Toon Boom gods my money, and I was like, "Thank you for this gift here.
Yeah, that's
have all of my money."
That's actually what Joyce was just asking. Is first and possibly only question: do you guys have a permanent purchase with Toon Boom or products or annual monthly payments? Honestly curious. So we have 3-month licenses.
Yeah.
But as Ashley was just saying, she has a permanent license. It sounds like so. I guess it depends on what you're doing, and if you're using it constantly, I mean, that's fine. But if you're bringing people on to a production, then
and like long term for me personally, it's gonna save me money, so that's why I sprung for that. Yeah. But it's a steep investment.
Yeah.
It is. You need to have the money in the first place, and I know that it's really hard to come up with that money, especially if you're just starting out.
Exactly. Yeah. So there's no issue with going month to month.
There's also, I will just say, there's no shame in piracy if that's what you need to get ahead, because these things be expensive, and I personally feel like if you do not have the money for these things and you want to enter the craft, and that's like a way for you to start learning to get like those professional skills,
wink,
just go for it. There's so many cracks out there. Just go for it. But just understand that when you have the bigger your production that you're doing, like small little projects you're doing with your friends, not a big deal if some things are pirated. But when you do something like bigger and more official, it's going to get more attention. That's when you run the risk of getting the ire of whoever's software you're stealing. And they make their money through selling licenses to studios. So if they find out that like a team of 30 people working on some for-profit thing or whatever is using entirely pirated stuff, then they might have a bone to pick with you. So out of safety, you'll want to make sure that you have proper licenses, which is what funding is good for. Also, it's always good when you can work on a production and you don't have to pay for the software that you're using. So it's good to have like some funds set aside in order to help your team. And similarly, we try to have IT money set aside for when inevitably someone's potato explodes, which has already happened a few times.
Yeah, I think I've heard a few stories of so far on the production. A few people's computers have gone kaplooey.
Yeah, actually, mine just did. I'm on my laptop.
Oh no!
Right now. Yeah, my mobile studio, the battery is swelling, and so the screen is popping out, and I can't use it, and I'm very angry about that. And Wacom is not anxious to get back to me about it. So yeah, that's my situation right now.
One of my poor animators, when we were entering like the final week of animation for Hell Puppy, a tree fell down and just put a whole branch like through the roof of her house.
Oh.
Yeah. And she was like, I am so sorry. I hope this doesn't hold things up too much, or like, and I'm like, honey, honey, God said fuck you and put a tree through your house. I
mean,
understand.
You don't need to apologize for like a force of nature.
It's like, it's okay.
Wow.
I've already on my team had someone come to me and be like, I'm going to be delayed, and they explained why, and it's much, much worse than a tree going through your roof.
Yeah.
And I was just like, dude, I totally understand. Booze cats can wait, deal with your family stuff. Just, take your time. It's not like I need it like this second.
You definitely
I would rather that.
The thing I'm glad about with running like an indie production too is we don't have to answer to like anybody, and I haven't set a deadline or a release date yet. So if something goes wrong, like God saying "fuck you," here's a tree, I can be like, that's fine. We can delay things a little bit.
You don't have
it's no big deal.
You maybe have like Patreon supporters and Kickstarter backers, but you don't have like venture capitalists breathing down your neck who are going to requisition your product if you don't like meet certain.
You don't have like this narrow release date where it's like in between Disney releases, and if you release like anywhere but that one window, your project is screwed. So there's a lot of flexibility in indie that you don't get with the bigger production.
Yeah, in some ways it's very liberating being your own boss, and in other ways it's terrifying because anything that goes wrong is your fault. And so yeah, it's been like that with the comic as well. Like between working in the game industry where it's like you're doing a job and things go wrong all the time, but you're just a cog in the pipeline, and that
so you don't have to give a crap about it.
It's not all on your shoulders. Like you may screw up in your day-to-day work or something on some level, but you're not like worried about meeting payroll or all this other stuff, or like you just aren't shouldering the whole burden. But then when you're doing it yourself, it's like oh, I can do what I want and everything, but then like oh god, it's terrifying. I have to do everything I want, and it's all that responsibility suddenly on you. So a mixed bag, I would say. And you have to come in like with the flexibility to know that like people are gonna fall out of the project because of circumstances and things like that. And so you have to like just you have to bake that into what you are doing. Just assume it will happen. Like assume that half your crew could just go missing at some point. Yeah. Thank you, Emily, for the donation. Thank you. First super chat. Thank you very much, Emily Farias, for the super chat. Much appreciated. I do have a little widget up in the left corner. Pardon my free widget. I didn't buy Prime. Do you want the animated Rocky pancake thing? So every time someone super chats, you can just steal that for you from me for next time, so we can do something. For these. Yeah, we're having so many animations come in on tests and stuff. That it would be really cool. We'll do something like with their permission to use some of that. Yeah, and I could do a slideshow for next time or something. I am that would be cool. Yeah, so new to Streamlabs. Like as of last night, I just installed it, so I don't like. I'm used to using just like bare bones OBS. So so yeah, pardon my inability to know what I'm doing here, but yeah, thank you everybody for joining us today and for using the super chat stuff and everything. We appreciate it. All of that fun, all those funds scary. Go to between our guests and us, and we put that money into our production. It goes directly toward funding this stuff. It goes towards paying the crew. It doesn't go into our pocketbook. Right. We already compensated on the project. The interest is making sure that any and all of our crew members are properly compensated for the work that they are doing. Because we want to keep things as fair as possible. Indie is very tight budget. You do not have the same sort of resources as other stuff. And I know that Lackadaisy, we kind of broke Kickstarter there, but after taxes and fees and everything that we owed everybody else for helping getting us to the point where we had such a successful Kickstarter, after all that, it's much less than $330,000. Plus, we still want to make the music video. So that's another reason why we are trying to focus on taking donations, because every little bit counts towards getting us closer there, which means more awesome content for everybody. And it also means that the budget has some flexibility. So like if something goes wrong, for instance, someone's computer explodes or like half the team goes away somehow, and I have like a scene where it's like half done, I need someone else to jump on it, then I can pay them to do that. I don't have to sit there and be like,
okay, how do I pinch pennies to make this happen?
Mhm.
Because you don't want to you don't want to screw other people over just to make your project happen. You want to avoid that as much as possible, actually, because there is when you are indie and small, you better respect your crew, especially because you depend on them so much.
Yes, and
So much.
this is a in a way it's a tight community. Everybody knows everybody, and people are going to hear about it if you don't treat your people you're working with correctly. Or
Also, I personally want to work with them again.
that too.
So
you want to be friends with these people as well, and you want to keep morale up, and you just want to have fun. So absolutely, it's in your best interest to just be a ethical, morally upstanding type of boss.
yeah, be the kind of bias that you wish you had.
Yeah, exactly. Clark says,
thank you already for the donations
yes,
coming.
And thank you so much for your
Yeah,
donation.
we're live.
It is extremely appreciated.
Yes.
Let's see. Thank you so much. We had a question about writing just a moment ago. How do we
was from.
How do we write our shows?
Well.
Oh, we're gonna keep that restricted to super chat now. The questions.
Oh, okay.
Well, no, I was just saying I dropped the Google Doc in the chat, and I'm uploading all the questions live as we're going.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, so we'll focus on answering super chat questions for the most part because people are paying for their questions to be answered. Not that we're opposed to answering just a random straight question in chat, especially if I just find it personally interesting to talk about. But yeah, we're going to try to focus on the super chats for the most part. That way also we don't have if we run into the issue of everything going over 2 hours because there was just that many super chats, I will happily take that bit of misfortune, but I want to make sure
that's a good problem to have,
Happy problem.
Yeah. Okay, so we have a question from Emily Farias. Who are you hoping will pick up the cartoon?
We don't know. It's a little bit out there as far as actually, Ashley, if you want to answer that first, that's cool too.
Yeah.
Oh, I was just about to say I'm weird. I don't want anybody to pick up my cartoon.
I kind of think
I'm the weird one here when people are like, "Oh, what network are you going to pitch around to networks and stuff like that?" And I'm like, "No, I just want my show Hell Puppy to be like completely indie, completely online, completely fan funded all the way through, which may be foolish on my part. I don't know, but I think we can do it.
Smart. The nature of your project.
Yeah, I mean, if I thought it was feasible to do a production like this, like in Lackadaisy's case, with like just continue funding additional episodes or something, I would be totally down with that. Yeah, but we would have to see where we are when we hit the end of this.
Exactly. I think my caution comes from I've never really, like, I've worked in the industry, but I've never worked in the industry. Like, I've never worked at a studio. I've never had real studio experience. I personally don't really know exactly how, like, networks and pitching and all that stuff kind of works. So that leaves me in a really vulnerable position to be taken advantage of if I were to pitch and have a company take advantage of me and think that I can be easily tricked, and I probably can be,
or even just
given my experience. So I don't want to lose my baby and have something bad happen. I've seen the success that you guys have had and other productions have had, and I'm like, you know what? I think us fans all can come together and make this thing happen without anybody else's intervention.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. And I think that's an excellent approach and an excellent attitude to have about it. I do think the studio system has like some major issues where if you go in there with a great idea, but you don't have connections to other showrunners, you haven't worked in the studio like system before, and you just don't know people and you don't have any clout, then you are either going to get taken advantage of or you're going to just be booted out or not taken seriously, because it's a lot of it's very like, I don't want to use the word incestuous, but it's like they take people who are already
incestuous.
In. Yeah,
no, it's absolutely
yeah. And so you, as an outsider, you don't have a great chance of getting your foot in the door, and if you do, then you don't have a great chance of having a lot of control over what's happening with your IP. So
exactly. And like, if you give it over to a network, they can fund it for one season and then just drop it, and then they own it. Like,
yeah,
I wouldn't be able to do anything else with it.
Right.
And I've heard the advice that, like, when you're pitching to a network, never pitch your baby. Keep your baby. But pitch something that you're okay with nothing ever happening with.
Right. Yeah.
And so that's the way I want to approach it.
Like I have heard some horror stories as well about like people pitching a thing and then like mysteriously 2 years later something comes out that's like really, really similar to their pitch.
That happens all the time. I personally know a few people that's happened to, and that terrifies me.
You went in there with this thing that like you had been working on for 10 years and you were just like everything, you lived and breathed it, and then some studio basically just ripped you off. That would be just so personally devastating. Yeah. So
I think to get back to the question of who are we helping pick up the cartoon?
Yeah, go ahead and answer that, Fable. You have some thoughts about like HBO. And
so as far as like places where I feel like ideally, really what I would love to do is focus on getting a distributor more than anything, and and finding more funding to get a series made, because it'd be really cool if we can get this made the way it is and then see about reconfiguring that to work for an entire series, not just for a short. That would be really neat. I am mostly, I just am like, can we get the funding? Can it be seen? And how to make that happen. And I try not to look too far ahead, because it's like we don't even have the short finished yet. I mean, we've made a lot of progress, but you gotta keep your eyes on the prize, basically. Don't count your chickens before they hatch, et cetera, et cetera. But as far as like homes that I think would be good for it, I mean, a lot of people said Netflix, and I know that they have a lot of interesting small projects on there. But I feel like, given that we're kind of going for like a prestige drama look and feel, that HBO would probably be pretty cool if that could be swung at all. But we'll see.
Now that they've got their streaming service, maybe they're looking to reach out to some different stuff. That's
what I've heard from a lot of people, that they're on the lookout. So who knows? Maybe we can ride that wave. But if not, then we'll just see what happens.
Yeah, we have to approach this as like, there's no guarantee of anything further happening with this, and so we have to make sure that what we produce is something we're going to be happy with, even if nothing else happens. That we have a solid little film that we're all proud of, and have said, we did that, that's finished, and we can put that out there and at least have that to share. And to me, that's like, that means the world. So if it goes like beyond that, then that would be amazing. But I'm like, my heart and mind and eyes are all set on like the goal of finishing this thing and being happy with it.
It's like, it's so much work to do the one thing, that if I sit here and I try to go, okay, I'm going to plan a series now, and we already sort of did that with the original pitch, but if we sit here and we go, let's plan a series now, it would only distract from what we are doing. So I figure we already broke Kickstarter, which was terribly on purpose. We wanted to get as much funding as we could on Kickstarter, not just to be able to pay our crew really well, but also to turn heads that might not otherwise pay attention to what we were doing. That's one reason why we worked with a publicist to see like how can we get the word out on what we're doing, and that's how we appeared in like Forbes, for instance, and Hollywood Reporter and that kind of thing, because that person had connections with those people and inquired, hey, would this be something that you guys would be interested in writing an article on? And they're like, oh, that's neat, and then they interview you.
Which, by the way, that's absolutely crazy. Congrats again on that.
Thank you.
But not
that's basically step one. Step two is to demonstrate that the entire production can be like a source of content, basically, that while you're making the cartoon, that people are interested in the process of making the cartoon, and that way the long production period that where cartoons take time to make, you're not just waiting around, like it can build its own hype train, basically. And then step 3 is to get the damn thing done. And so you let the work continuously speak for itself as much as possible, and you try to get eyes on it as much as possible. You try to get people to pay attention, because the world is so saturated with so many things that you're trying to basically get the attention of the people who have the power to make things move forward, and they're genuinely interested in helping you do that. But also, stuff like this is kind of niche, and you have to work hard to reach the community for whom that niche, like, that attracts them. Also, yes, I have birds. You are hearing birds squawk. I live in a jungle, basically. So don't be surprised if you hear birds or a rooster crowing or whatever like that, because that's what I'm surrounded by. So, but
the other night when we were talking and I couldn't hear any birds behind you at all, it felt deeply uncomfortable,
weird,
and I was like, I'm scared.
We've gotten so used to
It's like when you're out in the woods and suddenly all the crickets stop and you're like, I'm about to die. What's happening?
Yeah,
chatting with Fable is like wandering into a rainforest. You're just like surrounded by animal noises.
I am Jurassic Park. That's why my persona is a dinosaur. You've just entered Isla Nublar. Time to die.
Okay,
Yeah.
Jacob Weiland says, how do you write for your shows? Asking for a friend.
But I'll let Ashley answer that first,
go ahead.
because mine's and Tracy's answer is kind of complicated.
So writing is the scariest thing in the entire world to me. I'm terrified of it. So how do I write? I just so far what I've done is I've written an outline, and I have hired somebody who is much better at turning thoughts into words to help me flesh that out, and that's been my writer Dave Capdeville. He was the writer on Has Been Hotel, and he's basically my hey Dave, I'm terrified and don't know what I'm doing, but here's my general thoughts, help. I hate writing. It scares the ever-living crap out of me, and I know it's a weakness that I personally need to overcome and get better with, but
it takes practice. It's so easy to put words on the page that you can get really vulnerable really fast. And so it's very scary. And I feel like kind of like when you're first learning how to draw, and you're like, I don't know what to show or not show, and you're like terrified because it's so intimate. You kind of just have to slowly like get more confident in your abilities, get more like, well, if someone doesn't like it, I mean, that's not their cup of tea because you wrote it that way because you like it. But when you're just starting out, you're just terrified you're going to do the wrong thing for a while. It takes a while to develop that skill. But you made a good move in getting a writing partner because then you have someone to bounce off of.
Yeah, it's like writing. I know it's something that I am very underqualified in, so I'm like, all right, I'm gonna hire someone who is qualified and knows what they're doing.
That's definitely one option is hire a writer, and it's certainly, even if you're writing yourself, hiring people to proofread or to edit for you is not a bad idea. Or even just asking friends.
Yeah, you don't want to be the only person.
Like, get other eyes on it.
You can avoid being the only person that sees it, because you got to remember that this is going to be a project that other people are going to see and watch and stuff. And you can make a cartoon that is just for you, and I encourage folks to. But if your intention is that it's supposed to get like, mean something to other people than just yourself, you probably want to get at least some other eyeballs on it because you want to see how they react to it.
Right. Not only that, but like if you're writing characters in a world that you're very familiar with in your own mind because you've just been kind of living there mentally for a long time as you develop the project. You kind of forget that other people don't know things that you know intrinsically about like characters. Like Fable and I ran into this issue when we were writing the script where the characters were not referring to each other by name. We know all the names of the characters, and so we like when we like proofread it and started having other people read it, they're like, who are these characters? You're like, what are their names? Like they don't talk to each other, like, they don't address each other by name. Like, like, oh yeah, we maybe need to like do that so that the people watching it who are
one of the hardest parts.
Yeah.
One of the hardest parts of our script is because Lackadaisy is a known thing that pretty much all my friends who I would share the script with already knew about. They actually didn't mention that because, again, they knew the characters. So it wasn't until I showed the script to my roommate, who has zero interest in what I'm doing, and like has only like I've described her multiple times what's going on, and she has like still like the vaguest idea of what I'm doing. We're like, yeah, I'm directing a project we just did big on Kickstarter, blah blah blah. And meanwhile, she's like, I'm enjoying streaming with my Austrian friend, and I'm like, I love that you are so disinterested in what I'm doing because I could have a conversation with her that's not about this. So I was like, would you be willing to look at my script? And she was like, sure. And she was like, what are their names? And then also she was like, why didn't Mitzi knock on the door to ask to go in? And I was like, oh, it's not clear to you that she owns the establishment. I gotta figure that out. So, yeah.
Another thing that's helped me personally is having like a second voice to tell me when I'm accidentally doing things that are a little too similar to other things, because that's a problem you can run into a lot. And I was explaining the ending, or what I wanted to do with the ending of Hell Puppy to Dave, and he was like, Ashley, that's almost exactly like this one other movie. And I'm like, wait, is it? Shit! And in my defense, it was a movie I had never seen before, but like, that was nearly a huge pitfall to fall into. And so I'm like, all right, cool, we're gonna have to completely redo that. That's fine.
That reminds me, while we were writing, like, often we would sit there and like write the cliche just so we could go back and go like, okay, let's change
how do
this.
we take the cliche and twist it so it's not a, it's like it just
yeah, sometimes you're like, we just need a filler line, and so one of the characters just says something really dumb. Like Mordecai had a couple one-liners briefly, not funny ones, like, but he said kind of like an action movie thing, and it was just filler.
And then you go back and you're like, okay, what would he really say here? Because he's such a, like, he's such a stuffed shirt, like he's just like So sometimes you need to just get the bad idea out there, because nobody's going to read that version of the script anyway. So you can just like shit the page, and then you sort through the shit to find the golden nuggets. Yeah, or you put something there that's a placeholder that's what people might expect to happen, and then you that highlights in your own mind, like, okay, so I can't have this happen because, like, what would actually happen here based on who these characters are and things like that. But with Lackadaisy, we had a bit of an unusual circumstance in that the comic already existed, and so we were like borrowing from that to create this like one-off like short story for the film, and so it's got like bits of comic, like the comic that actually are there. Like if you've seen the animatic, you know the poem is actually from the comic that Rocky delivers up on the bridge, and
but you'll notice that the bridge is totally different, and he's not fiddling during that part of the comic, and in fact, like, the circumstances are
we changed the circumstances entirely. So it's like we had to make something that would kind of be both, that would bridge both being kind of a treat for people who already read the comic and know the characters and everything, and something that can introduce new people to it without confusing them about like what is even happening or what's going on here. So it had to be both of those things at once, and that was a little tricky, but I think we landed on something that is like self-contained enough that you can like it, or at least understand it.
It's a pilot. It's a pilot. It's just meant to be like a sampler of what to expect from the total thing.
It's an introduction to the characters, the world, the conflicts, and everything.
So and to like take what we've been saying, kind of bring it back to like, you know, how you've been writing. Me and Tracy wrote the script for the short. We were sitting there, we're like, okay, what should it be about? And I said, I got this idea, Tracy. What if they're XYZ? And then that leads them down this path. And so we got like a couple of interesting elements. We got some action. We got some like funny moments of conversation. We, of course, eventually go back to the Lackadaisy to see that and see all the characters. And they were like, okay, so we got this framework. Now how do we make that actually work?
Yeah, we kind of started like the beats that we wanted, like the main beats, and then just kind of like figured out how those pieces connected together, and made it into something.
And as the funding came in, I've been like, we wrote to the level where we were like, okay, if we get like a bunch of funding, if we get beyond this level, we'll write this much, but we know what we can cut if we don't get to that funding level, which would be sad, but you know, at least you would get a short done, because that was the point. And once we did know how much money we were going to have, then we were like, okay, now we can make sure that this part is like as elaborate as it needs to be, and that sort of thing, and came up with some fun ideas. And our script was actually pretty live for a while, even up into recording for the teaser. We had elements where we were still working on it towards the end, and we tried to have it all worked out.
Even after Kickstarter funding, we went and revised quite a bit and smoothed it out, and
here and there. Most of it was like dialogue, though. Like our beats didn't change. Like the core elements did not change.
The content didn't really change. The character interactions changed, and yeah, we added more and removed some based on, you know, and then fleshed some things out a little bit more based on what our budget was at that point. So
yeah, and also we wanted to have like a balance between the characters. It's like, you know, we need to have like Nico and Seraphine actually talking because we need to see like what is their relationship and how do they interact with Mordecai, and you know, and that all the conversations feel motivated. They're not just talking to talk. Right. They're not just shooting the shit. So and you kind of go into writing with some philosophy. It's like, what's the goal of this, basically? And if you have some sort of goal or framework that you're working with, then it makes writing a little bit easier, because the more freedom you have, paradoxically, the less you might do, because you'll be like a deer in the headlights where anything is possible, and so everything possible seems really scary and kind of out of reach. So sometimes you have to give yourself certain limitations just to be able to move forward, because then you know what the next step is. You know how to reach that point. You have a goal in mind that's concrete, and you kind of go from there. But having a writing partner really helps. You know, writing this all on my own would be very scary, and I know that Tracy was kind of intimidated by writing a script, but us together, working together, was pretty good. And I had to do... I've reread the comics so many fucking times. I've had so many extensive conversations.
Yeah, I feel like... Yeah, as soon as like
someone... Do you dream in Sapia?
Not yet. I have not yet had the remainder of the dream where Mordecai teaches the dogs German and revenge. Yeah.
Dream in sepia-colored sheep.
I feel like what I'm going to dream about instead is stress dreams about the voice actors instead.
Yeah, stress dreams are a thing that's been happening to me too. So yeah, the cliche thing where you like sit bolt upright and like, oh no, this thing I gotta worry about. Yeah, this. All right.
Yeah. I did have a project that I was working on earlier, some comic I was doing where, oddly enough, one of my characters started appearing in people's dreams. I was like, why is he Freddy Kruegering all over the place? And he doesn't show up in my brain except to torment me.
All right, question. Again from Emily. Thank you. I have watched Bee and Puppy Cat, which I heard is having problems with production companies for their season 2, and thought to bring the topic up. Oh, okay. I guess that's just a thank you for answering. Oh, well, thank you.
That was in a response to their.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Thank you so much, Emily, for your contribution.
Okay.
Maddie.
So we got a question by Maddie. Yeah.
Hey guys, what is everyone's favorite part of working on Lackadaisy? Can't wait to see what's coming. Thanks, Maddie.
My favorite part is just seeing a cartoon get made. It's like ever so slowly you can see it pieced together. And like I was saying I have been staying up pretty late the last several days, like nearly a week, getting editing on the animatic done. And Tracy was like, oh my god, I'm so sorry, like, you want to go to bed, are you going to take a break? I'm like, no, the reason I'm staying up late is because I'm so compelled by it. Like, I watch it, I get excited, and I'm like, ooh, I want to touch it. Ooh, what if I smooched this, and that kind of thing. And I adore the process of making these cartoons. And it's a joy to be able to work on a production where I don't have to compromise my intense interests at all in order to make people feel less intimidated. It's like all my border collie energy of just like, go, gotta herd the sheep, instead of having to like rein that in order not to step all over the rest of the crew. It can just go.
You can lean into it.
Yeah, I can lean into it and get really, really into it. And that's really fun for me because I love cartoons. I like the process of making cartoons. I've been about this since I was 6. And that sounds like an exaggeration, but for reals, like I watched Lion King and I read the Making of Lion King book. I was an advanced reader, so I could read that thick tome. And their process of like in that book, they described how they made the film and all the like dead ends and stuff and production difficulties they had and like how they interacted with one another and everything like that. And it fascinated me. And I knew that I wanted to make cartoons because I was like, I want to be part of that. That just sounds amazing to me. So that's my favorite part of working on Lackadaisy is working on Lackadaisy, I guess.
I have to say mine is like an ever shifting, like every time we start on something new, I'm like, ooh, this is my favorite. Like we brought the voice actors on, I'm like, ooh, this is my favorite. And then we started doing storyboards, I'm like, ooh, this is my favorite. And now we've got like the animators coming in and starting to do their tests. I'm like, ooh, favorite, I love it. So it's just like exciting. I'm like a tourist.
It's really awesome to see other people take what you give them and just run with it.
Yeah.
And you try to encourage their enthusiasm as much as possible. Because if they're excited about it, then they put they have as much interest in it as what you are doing as you, then you can it'll come out better. And you don't take advantage of that though. You tell them you go like, take care of yourself, please don't kill yourself over this or that. Sometimes they don't listen to me, Newt. But I very much don't want them to break themselves for the project, because I very much believe that your mental and physical health is deeply tied to the kind of work that you can make, and that poor physical and mental health do not make for good art, despite all the cultural ideas of the long-suffering artist. Yeah. In fact, when you are horribly depressed and in pain, making art is something you don't want to do.
Don't buy that like romanticizing the artistic torment thing. It's
not good. Yeah. And my main problem is just making sure that I do take care of myself, because like I said, I get so wrapped up into it that I can forget to take care of myself.
I have that.
But thankfully I have a whole house full of people to yell at me, and now the crew yells at me too. If I am up late, they'll hop into, I'm usually in our own voice chat. I'll be just sitting there with like streaming to the crew if they want to come in and see what I'm doing, and I'll be up at 2 a.m. They'll hop in, they'll just yell at me. They're like, go to sleep, what are you doing? Oh wait, go to bed. Have you eaten anything? Oh my god.
Sometimes and to be fair, I remind you to look after yourself.
They're really just copying me and what I say to them, and so it's entirely deserved. So but yeah, it's been really cool. One of the coolest things might be all the stuff that I don't normally get to do on productions. Like, I don't normally on other productions get to mess around with voice actors, do the writing myself in a way that actually gets noticed. Storyboard artists are writers, guys, but we just don't generally get credited for it. It kind of sucks. Working with voice actors, working with sound design is really fun. Like sitting there and with Em, our sound designer, and just like poking over what we're doing, giving Ginger directions to Sepia Tonic. It's like, it's scary and it's fun because I get to like learn so much about that part of the process. And anything where I'm like less experienced, I make sure that whoever I have on board is just, well, for anything that they're more experienced than me. But for especially anything where it's like, I know I'm not good at this. I am not a sound designer. I would not want to have a short that was sound designed by me, because it will be subpar, because I don't have the know-how. So I find someone who does have the know-how and who is happy to have active conversations and chat with me about like making it really cool. And so that was really fun, like doing a back and forth of sound work, because there's so much in sound that is rather like visual arts, where you're like peeling apart elements and you're kind of like stitching them together. It's very abstracted, but it like comes off feeling really real, and finding like the emotion and character of stuff. And it's just something as simple as the ambiance of like a nighttime environment by a river, and how much depth that can have. That the river will sound different a certain way, or like certain elements will be louder or softer. But probably the most like in the moment goofball fun would be the voice actors. Anytime we have them, they are funny people.
They are all characters in their own right, and so yeah, it's very fun.
They very much are. Some of them are even rather like the characters that they're playing, which is a little bit unnerving. I'm still confused how Mike turned out to have a syrup thing, just like Rocky. Like, I'm deeply concerned. I'm like, how did that happen? Because I did not hire Mike knowing any of that. We
didn't hire him for his syrup proclivities, but
no, I hired him because Angel Dust speaks a certain way, and I was like, yeah, I could see Rocky going in that direction, so I figured I'd poke Mike and see how he did. And
Michael is Rocky if Rocky was dropped on his head a few more times. I'm dating him. I'm allowed to say that. I'm allowed to be mean to my boyfriend.
Michael is Rocky if Rocky was less of a simp. I think Mike actually might have more self-respect than Rocky.
I'm sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, which is good, because otherwise he'd be very difficult to work with. Let's be honest. Actual Rocky in a voice acting session would be such a mess.
Actual Rocky has a hard time holding down a job for a reason. So.
Yeah.
All right,
anyway, so moving on.
Let's give let's give Ashley a chance to answer a question here. Tanya.
Oh yeah.
Ashley,
oh god, I gotta perform now.
Oh, but we need your response for your favorite part of working on Expo.
Oh, okay, sure.
Yeah.
My favorite part?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm on the project, but I'm not doing any work on the project yet, so I get to just sit back and relax and watch things come together.
About us, you're giving red lines and direction all the time. You're definitely doing something.
That was okay. I forgot that was specifically about Lackadaisy. Yeah, you don't have to answer that one. That was Here's one that's addressed to you, Ashley. You and your streams made me want to start drawing again. I've got a new tablet coming and everything, so thank you. And Mike says,
thank you for the donation, Mike. Craig.
Thanks, Mike. It means a lot.
I'm very glad. I'm glad you enjoy the streams, and I'm glad you're picking up drawing again. Like, if you got any work that you're doing or any art that you're doing, feel free to tweet it at me. I'd love to check it out.
Yeah, same with us. If you tag stuff, hashtag Lackadaisy, or our names, try to keep it to hashtag Lackadaisy. I have no idea how crazy things are going to get down the line, so I really don't want to miss people's stuff. But I check the Lackadaisy tag all the time.
Yeah,
like all the time. So
yeah. And also, yeah, people are watching the Hell Puppy tags. And Temperoni says, "Oh, you're leaving, and thank you so much for that donation. That's incredibly generous. I just got to say before I go that I love the Lackadaisy comic and all the art that y'all have done over the years, and you too, Ashley. Keep on doing what you love, and have a wonderful rest of the day. Peace." Thank you. That was really generous.
Thank you, Temper.
Thank you so much for the kind words too. Yeah. It really means a lot. Okay, Tanya Chapman.
Thank you also for managing this.
Thank you, Newt.
Been
really
lovely so far.
Yeah. Tanya says, "Is it awkward hiring fellow artists for a project?"
Is it awkward to hire fellow artists for a project?
Let's hear from Ashley.
Yeah.
Fable, you and I
putting it to me, fine. I see how it is. But yes and no. It depends. It's really exciting. It's really, really exciting. But the moment I'm looking to hire somebody that I look up to personally and see as this big tour de force in the industry, I immediately freeze up and am filled with all of the self-doubt. So I wouldn't call it awkward. I guess sometimes it's intimidating depending on who it is. But I mean, every single time it turns out to be super, super fun and amazing and fantastic because all of us in the art community are so interconnected and we're all friends. We all love each other.
It's a small community, and there's a lot fewer steps between you and say Sergio Pablo than you think, basically. Oh,
So I mean, on the whole, no, it's amazing. It's fantastic. There's an artist that I've looked up to for years that I brought on to Hell Puppy, and I was so nervous. I was like, I know this person's going to do an amazing job. They're exactly who I need. But I don't know if they're going to think that this silly little project of mine is worth their time. Not to say that's anything against them. It's not like I'm saying they would be like, oh, I'm too important for this. It's just I don't know how they're going to feel about working on some indie freelance thing. And they were immediately like, oh, I'm not sure if I'll have the time. And then the moment they started working on it, they blazed through it, and they were constantly sending me updates. And then afterwards they were just like, I loved working on this. Thank you. And I cried. I actually started crying. I was like, it makes me so happy.
Yeah,
so no, overall it's amazing.
Yeah, so far it's been we had a design artist, a background artist come on whose work I had followed for a long time, and I was surprised they were even interested, and I was just thrilled they were interested, but I was also now I have to give them direction, and I'm gonna feel so sheepish about it because they're I view myself as my ability to draw
so much
backgrounds
better than me,
is down here, and their ability is way up here, and so I'm me telling them what to do seems odd.
I mean, it's so funny. It's so funny though in our discussions with them, they'd be apologizing. They're I know this is really need good stuff, and it's just kind of muddy, and we're just like,
Frog,
shut up.
I know we're there with like,
good.
yeah. We're there with like sparkles in our eyes, and they're like apologizing. We're like, no, it's great. But and then like,
this is amazing. Thank you.
A couple of artists who I've been familiar with and have followed for a long time came on to do storyboards too, and that was really thrilling because like, but also like made me feel like, why are they wanting to work on my stupid thing? But like, they don't view it that way, and you have to like, you just have to have you have to develop the confidence to be like, yeah, here I have a thing here, and
that was actually
in my case, you just have to be so fucking stupidly shameless that it doesn't occur to you that it would be a problem until you already made the mistake of approaching them.
That was kind of me when you were interested in working on Help Up You Fable, because I've followed you since like 2006, 2007, like it's been a million years. And so when you were like, hey, should I apply for this? I was like, yes, please.
I wanted to do more indie animation stuff, and I actually feel bad because about the same time as Help Up You production started picking up, that's when the Lackadaisy Kickstarter kicked off. And I was like, I'm so sorry, but I think I can only do one scene, and I'll make it really pretty, though, and just being very apologetic. And I still want to do more Help Puppy stuff because it is fun, and it's like, it's a little demon doggo. Of course I want to animate it. It's great. I'm so down for that. And having heard from you, like, where you imagine the direction of that going, I'm like, oh, I'm so about this. Like, please don't kick me off the crew. I want to continue doing stuff for you.
Fired.
Yeah. No. We are each other's bosses. That's the weird thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're my boss on one project. I'm your boss on our project. It's really weird. Ashley, by the way, is one of our cleanup people. She's one of the few exclusively cleanup people because she knows more about it than I do.
I like doing cleanup. I'm good at it. I also hate doing cleanup with a fiery passion.
There's nothing that sucks the joy out of animation for me more than having to sit down and taking all my lovely rough lines and the energy of it and going, okay, now ink it. now color it. And it's like, it'll look really cool, but it's like the process in which I have to zone out. And like I said, I have border collie brain, and zoning out and me do not really go together very well. So it's my least favorite part, and I'm just happy to talk to other people who know better than me, and that I can like confidently lean on as far as like, okay, let's develop this. Like, how's this process going to go? Because that's what I imagine your role in this is going to be a lot of, is just like me and you back and forth and like, okay, how do we make this actually like feasible for the rest of the team to duplicate? And make it look in such a way also that it doesn't just look like any other production out there, because we are trying to go for like a unique look, a nostalgic look that people are kind of familiar with, but it's not supposed to look like Heck Puppo or Has-Been Hotel or Ollie and Scoops or any number of indie animations from folks I follow. It will very much have its own look. But that also means that you're kind of in the process of field testing an approach that might not be terribly common while you're working on it, and that's scary. I actually try, like, we have so much experimentation on this production pipeline that I have to be very careful about how far we actually are pushing things. So like, some people have asked me, oh yes, are you gonna animate it like Klaus, where it's gonna be like super duper rendered and stuff? I'm like, ha, no.
Yeah.
I remember I asked you that, and I was asking that entirely out of fear.
If we had a couple,
I was like, where are we going with this?
Yeah, if our budget was like in the millions, maybe, but yeah, unfortunately, we have to make do.
If we could just buy the proprietary technology that they made, then maybe we could do that. But there's a reason why we're not animating this to look exactly like the characters do not look exactly like they do in the comic for a good goddamn reason. And the reason is because I don't want to be in pain.
There's that, but I also think like there's a certain appeal, like people tend to equate like more rendered or realistic with like better art, but I don't think that's really true. Like, my tastes lately have been like veering more toward like stylized is its own aesthetic, and it's pretty in its own way, and it's its own type of art form. It's like, it's not easy to accomplish in an appealing fashion. And so
yes, the limitations of animation add to the aesthetic.
Sometimes the limitation
into that rather than hide it.
Yeah, sometimes the limitation is a strength, actually. And because I think you can overwork something can be easily overlooked, and I think a lot of my comic art actually suffers from that, but that's a different discussion. I wanted to we have a question that's a very involved one about going to school and learning, so I'm going to skip ahead real quick and just go to a quick one that we can probably answer quickly, or that Ashley can answer quickly. Cedrice Walks Over Ice says, sorry if I slaughtered your name there. So when will Heck Puppy come out?
Hell Puppy currently is finished with animation. The first teaser, I should say. So this is a loaded question, but I'm going to release a short teaser first. Kind of like how when Has Been was in its early stages, you guys got little like teasers of the pilot. I'm going to be releasing little independent teasers, shorts, to kind of give people like a feel and a taste of what's going to happen, because I don't feel like there's enough behind Hell Puppy immediately to do a Kickstarter like what Lackadaisy did. So I'm completely funding out of my pocket myself a few little short bites before I then go into kickstarting a full on episode 1. So the first teaser, all of the animation's done. We are currently in cleanup, and that's going really well. So I'm expecting in the next month or 2 that teaser should come out, because we're taking things as slow as possible, because this is not only a learning it's not only figuring out where we want to go, it's also a learning experience for me, because I've never led a project before. So it's a lot of reinventing the wheel over and over again for myself to figure out like how best to tackle things. So once we get this first teaser out, I'm expecting things to go a lot more quickly and a lot more smoothly from here on out. But yeah, in the next month or 2, I'm hoping to get that first teaser out, and I hope everybody will enjoy it.
Awesome. And like we said earlier, it's nice being being in charge of your own thing, because you don't have to set a deadline to please investors or some parent company or something. So yeah, so you can kind of take it.
I mean, I feel like half bad that it's like it's taking so long to just put out the first teaser, but it's also kind of like this is the first huge step, because this is where we're getting all of our logos made, all of our character designs complete, all of our first initial like everything that's gonna set up everything we make for the future.
Right.
So of course,
like
the first one is going to take the longest.
Yeah. You have to be careful, and you want to make sure you cross all your T's and dot your I's and get everything lined up and understand what you're doing. And it's going to benefit. Definitely going to benefit the thing as a whole to be cautious and take it one step at a time in the beginning. So yeah, that certainly makes sense.
We also, it's like, I keep thinking as we're working, I'm like, man, if we do go from here and make something, we'll have all the sheets done already and everything, and these car models and stuff, and then like so much legwork has already been done. But starting from scratch is really difficult. There's a reason why in animated cartoons you see a lot of asset reuse, and that's because it takes time to make
see
everything.
That in games too.
None of this is real, so you have to make everything.
Came from the game industry, and reskinning assets was just like a thing you did all the time. So all right, Nox Kitsune says, hi everyone, please have Newt plug Lackacord. We need more minions. Oh yes, Lackadaisy Discord.
Oh god.
It's discord.gg.
It's official Discord.
Lackadaisy. I think Newt has already posted in the chat. So yeah, come visit us. It's a really great little community, and we have a lot of fun there, sharing art, talking about pets and random nonsense and comics and things like that. So
yeah, I don't interact too much in there, because I don't want to make everybody's conversation stop, because they inevitably stop everything and start talking at me, and I'm like, no, I want you guys to just have your fun fan space. I'll just enjoy it quietly here. But I do read what they say, because it's a really good morale booster to see them get excited about stuff.
Yeah, it's really
like
fun
when you post
to post something and then see them react to it and seem to enjoy it. So yeah, that's very cool. And also, I want to shout out to the mods there and to Newt for running such a smooth operation and keeping everything going there and keeping it just like a really
it's a nice server,
nice place to be. It's like low drama, and I just love that about it.
It's mature. It's full of mature people who will make their jokes, but they're not tasteless. And when somebody does say something or do something that's kind of like a little bit, hey, yo, dude, people are pretty good about saying, yo, man, that's not okay. So they seem to treat each other in a very like grown up way. So it's not like it's full of 12-year-olds like all trying to out adult one another or something.
Yeah.
So, which is nice.
Yeah.
Also, if anyone is ever just having a bad day, there's a channel dedicated to cute cat pictures. So.
There's that. And Ashley, do you want to plug a Discord server?
I would love to, but my Discord server is closed because it is over capacity.
Okay. Can't get in.
I had to stop letting people in because it's insane in there.
Oh,
Wow.
no. Oh,
One day
it's like I kind of want your problem, but I also don't.
Yeah,
I'm like, can you imagine what the Lackadaisy fan community would be
I've
like
seen
if we
the
had
chats.
the chaotic
I've seen how the
nature
chats
of-
are on Honeycast. I have a pretty good idea, I think, of what the Discord is like.
Let me see how many members we're at. Yeah, we're at like 54,000, or not thousand, God, 5,400. If it was 54,000, I would have deleted it by now. But
yeah, no, I'd be like, no.
No.
The point at which it's a small country is a no.
Oh shoot, we are at 3,923. Can
Holy
the chat push us over 4,000 tonight?
Get to 4,000.
Oh gosh.
We'll have to make a contest of it.
I'm waiting for the moment that this cross section of Honeycast and Has-Been fans sink their claws into Lackadaisy, and we start seeing some very uncomfortable art of Rocky, which I know Mike will save and share.
Your moderators will have
that's
a lot
Fable's
more work.
like, no,
when they
please
come.
don't.
No, that's it. No, I'm the reason why there is Rocky once their outfit was because I was daring people on a stream. I like, it'd be terrible is if somebody did this. And then Mike leaned into it, and I still want to hear him do the how bad can I be, but as Rocky, because I'm just like, oh my god, I want that audio so bad.
That may or may not be happening. I cannot confirm or deny.
Oh, no.
Is Mike going to be in the next Lacka chat?
I don't know. We haven't scheduled.
I
it yet.
will emphasize on that. I cannot confirm or deny.
Okay, but and Newt already knows of the one other idea I had, which is a fantastic prank on a friend of ours. So
Okay.
that I messaged to him. So the things you can do, it's like, haha, I have content that other people make fun of. Let's take advantage of this.
I think one of the funnest parts about having a project is using that project to make stupid shit.
No, it's
Sometimes,
true.
Yeah, the extraneous stuff that comes about as a result, like on the side, is like the most fun. Absolutely, yeah.
The
Or
stuff
at
you
least-
make when you're trying not to lose your mind
Yes,
from work.
yeah, that's how we.
Cough, Rocky dancing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or that Google Translate video we made. Like,
Oh my god!
Oh
You
my
guys,
god! The Google.
Please, everybody, go watch the Google Translate of the of Rocky's poem because it is beautiful. It's just like everybody just spontaneously be like, you know what would be funny? It is just the funniest fucking shit, and they
dig
just
up the
pulled it out of their
link for
ass. Everybody pulled it out of their ass. It came together in about a day, and I love it to pieces.
Yeah, it was
It is
amazing
so
how
correct.
ty like everybody left on that. It was just like someone put the Google Translate up on, I think it was Instagram, and I found it and I shared it, and like suddenly like Ty was like doing illustrations for it, and Fable was like editing it together, and Mike was recording voice for it. I'm like, well, oh my god.
He did multiple recordings.
It was
I remember
holy shit.
half listening to him record that, and I'm like, what the fuck is happening?
There is no explaining it. It's just a thing. Try and
Okay, so we got another question from Dakota the Bear. Hi, Dakota the Bear. Let me swallow my ice. Dang it, I said it in chat, but here, thank you to Ashley and Lackadaisy for a fun 24-hour stream showing technologically impressive films of the silent film era to me and winning me over to the Kickstarter Lackadaisy. Here's to help, Pup. Thank you
Aw.
so much. I'm glad that you enjoyed our sort of movie breaks because that was when I was taking a nap. I was
still don't
literally
know how
lying on
the
the floor
hell.
sleeping while you guys had Metropolis playing and just like it was very nice listening to that as you went to bed. If you guys want to kind of like have good music to sleep to. I mean, just some sound to sleep to. Just like play some of those old movies. It's like kind of comforting sounding.
I was up working on a comic update while they were watching that stuff.
Yeah, that was that was the fastest I think you've ever worked on that.
Yeah.
Oh my god, it was like Tracy blazing fast, and at that quality. The new page looks amazing. I can't wait for the next one.
Oh god, I'm so behind because I've been doing.
I keep saying you want help. I mean,
well, now I have a broken machine, so I'm in trouble.
All right.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to do like a pencil-only comic update.
Well, maybe that will be the a mini comic.
Yeah, I may have
just
to.
Like, fuck it, we'll do some filler.
I may have to do that as an apology offering.
Well, I've been telling you that I really want a Seraphine Nico thing so that we can get Benny and Malcolm to do something juicy, and they work so well together that we would be stupid not to do something.
They're amazing.
So I normally wouldn't pressure you to write some shit, but it's like
they're
inspiring.
It's like the idea has to come, and then it has to blossom into some kind of humor or joke, and it doesn't always do that. And so I sit there going like, and then something else will invade my brain instead of the thing I want to do. So it's like writing mini comics is like I'm not even in control of it. Just like it happens to my brain.
Insert that one with you and the cat cleaning himself.
Yes, exactly.
Oh man, the internet loved that one.
Yeah,
it's like fuck Lackadaisy. Yeah. This shit is what's going to get you off the ground.
I was thinking that for years, and I had no idea that was you until like a few weeks ago.
Oh, really? Yeah, it was one of those things. I don't know. It just my brain. Like the Lackadaisy altogether was just like something that happened to me. I didn't like set out to do it. It just, yeah. Anyway. I'm
just like Nico and Seraphine and like. and like they're just mutually cockblocking each other.
Yeah.
They're like just like they just mutually cockblock each other. You can make a whole comic out of that. That'd be really funny. Because they are together just funny. They're some of my favorite characters. Like Seraphine is absolutely just so much better than me in every way. So yeah,
she's been very fun to work on in the animation.
She has. Everybody like anytime she's on screen, like, and I've had the crew pop in, they're like, oh, she's so hot.
Yeah, I remember reading the script and I'm like, Fable, help, I'm really gay right now. And then Nico popped up and I'm like, help, I'm really straight right now. Just pansexual panic all over the place.
Yeah. No, I have a type.
What did Bell call them? But he's like, you guys, you're both very dangerous, spicy people.
That was in the last Lacka chat. If y'all want to listen to that, it is a joy. Okay, so another question from Shrill Coot. I'm very new to animation, and I'm just heading into high school, and I was wondering if you have any information on getting started and some things to do in high school, and just some tips and programs. I'd say. Absolutely don't wait for software to start animating. You can start with a flipbook. You can start with your phone and some stop motion software.
There's free digital software that you can use. There's probably apps that are just for like doing like flipbook animation type stuff. And
don't worry about doing the best, most amazing thing right off the bat. If I showed you my early animations, they're not impressive. And I started when I was, like the stuff that 12-year-olds are doing now is stuff that I couldn't dream of doing when I was 12. A lot of that is the information and tech that you have available.
Or just seeing what's possible. Like you kind of end up standing on the shoulders of the people who came before you, sort of thing, where you hang around on the internet and you see all this art coming out of people who are 30, 25 or whatever, and then you start doing it at the age of like 15, and by the time you're 20, you're as good as they were or better. And so it's really.
But don't let that discourage you, because remember that we started off bad at stuff at this age, and yet we are where we are, so which is less bad, I guess. So you'll get there eventually. Just go ahead, practice. Don't worry about being stupid amazing. Read. I always say any artist needs to like get experience outside of the thing that they just want to draw. So like. Talk to people, travel, even if it's just going down the street and observe and look at other people, what they're doing.
Observational drawing.
That's all really general advice.
Is always very helpful. But don't wait until you're in like an art school to start animating, like start doing it now. That's going to give you a leg up. That's going to make your portfolio when you go to apply to schools all the better. It's going to give you,
and you might even get to a point where you don't need to go to art school.
You may not even need to go to art school.
We've been hearing some stories lately.
Yeah, I did not.
Not worth it.
Like, I'm not like, I didn't become an animator until I got a job, and that was in 3D animation. So, but I did not go to art school myself, and it is not. And I know a lot of other artists who work professionally who did not go to art school, so it's not absolutely necessary. Yeah. We've been hearing a lot of horror stories lately from our animators about certain schools,
especially with how the Backstreet Boys reunion tour is going, and how they're kind of getting pulled for the ringer because of that. And it's like, honestly, if you want to learn how to animate, one of the best things to do is find a community of animators and just chat with people. Just, talk to other people, because how human beings learn via other human beings.
Yeah, bouncing off each other and encouraging each other, learning from each other, finding out what software is best to use, like what the tricks to using it are, getting job opportunities. All of that comes from knowing the people in your circle. Like, get to know other animators, hang out in their Discord communities or in their other online communities, like talk to them, reach out to them. Like, getting to know people is absolutely vital.
It's easier now than ever and to find that community, because when me and Tracy were just starting out, I mean, we basically had DeviantArt.
Yeah, DeviantArt was the thing, the only thing. In some ways,
DeviantArt's where I got my start.
Yeah. In some ways, it was great that it was all kind of like consolidated there, and in some ways, it was awful. But it was like simpler times than now. But there's certainly no shortage of ways that you can kind of like wedge yourself into the community of people who will eventually be your colleagues and peers on a professional level. So
there's no one path to this either. Like, if you hear from an artist like this is how they got into the business, that's not necessily the path that you can or should take, because that's what worked for them in those circumstances at that time.
Say you do want to. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
If I can reveal my deepest, darkest secret here as to how different paths can be and how unimportant education can be, I didn't even graduate high school. So my education is nil. My high school was filled with a bunch of really, really horrible teachers that were being super abusive. So I said, you know what? My mental health is more important. I'll be fine. And I got the hell out of there. And I took some college, and the college that I went to was an absolute scam. So I was like, you know what? I'm learning everything online. I've got all I need, resources on the internet. And
there's nothing keeping you from going back.
Yeah.
Also, there's no reason you can't go back to school. There's no age limit on this. My partner is working on his master's degree right now, and he is 33. There's nothing keeping you from going back later. In fact, sometimes it's easier to deal with college and all that jazz when you're older. And
I absolutely want to go, and once I'm down in LA, I want to take classes and learn more, because it's never too late to learn, and you never stop learning. Because I have industry work and I'm working on these big projects doesn't mean, I can't go back and refresh myself on a lot of things and learn new techniques.
Yeah. It's like education is very valuable. Our problem with education has nothing to do with education itself or even formal learning necessarily. It's everything to do with some of the predatory practices.
And the mistreatment, heavy, crazy course load.
They're not actually. It's like hearing some of the things, I'm just like, that's not preparing anybody well for the industry. That's only preparing them how to be abused. Right. And I think that's a problem. So you want to learn things. You don't want to come out of it broken in a shell of yourself and unable to do it.
Yeah, figure out what's going to work best for you. If you're a self-learner, to use a really pretentious term, if you're an autodidact, you can pick up the software, learn it yourself, and not necessarily have to go to school. Or you can take online school, schoolism and things like that. The online stuff that's available has become very sophisticated and very well regarded, actually, as of late. And so it's not scammy, cheesy stuff where they used to have those commercials where they'd can you draw this turtle character? And if you can go to our art school. Or draw the pirate. But it's not like that anymore. So check out
I should have done that for the Lackadaisy animation test. Draw this turtle. If so, you get the job.
Oh Lord.
Draw this Rocky pirate. And you
can draw Rocky.
Yeah, if you can draw this, you're hired.
I won't name the school that I was going to, but I was going to a school and I wasn't so sure about it, but they basically tricked my parents into thinking that it was like God's gift to man of a school, like just so amazing, and I just I didn't have a choice really.
Watch out for those
so I was paying I think like $50,000 a year or something like that.
Christ, and back then that's insane.
Like...
I wasn't paying that much for USC.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you could go to Berkeley for less than that. Wow.
Yeah, it was absolutely insane. It was because it was on the quarter system, so you were technically getting 2 years of school out of one. But yeah, it was insane. And our classes were like 4 hours long. And so our teachers would teach for like 1 hour of the class, and then they would get bored and tell us to go home.
Wow.
Oh, quality!
Incredible amount.
Quality.
And the teachers would get sick of teaching after the
fuck these
class.
Kids, get out of here. It's something that sounds like a gem thing to happen in high school is a nightmare in college.
If you're paying them like $50,000 a semester or a year or whatever it is for education like that, then they should be spit shining your shoes while they're lecturing you on art.
The top professor at that school, the top professor that had the most industry experience, most prestige, he claimed that he worked on Dumb and Dumber. And he wasn't even credited.
What?
So, like, their top professor had, like, no actual credits for any of the things that he, like, claimed to work on.
Oh, that's sketchy.
I hate to think that actually that at my age, when you're describing that, it sounds like I would have been more qualified to teach your classes.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
And that's terrifying.
Yeah, watch out for those for-profit schools, and also bear in mind that you can do like a community college to get your basic stuff out of the way, and then transfer later to a school once you kind of figure out what
I got a better education out of a community college than I did that private college. Like my community college teacher that I had for a month before they shut down the major. He had worked at Disney, doing their like splashes, like, you know, the little channel ID splashes. He was the director of those. Cool. Over at Disney Channel back in the day, and like he knew everyone in the industry. Like he was one of those people who was friends with everyone. So he would bring into the class people from Pixar, people from EA, like people from all over the industry. And he would just have them interact with us kids and just be like, hey, network, engage. And he like taught us so much. He was obviously very, very passionate. And then this $50,000 a year scam school, they were like, I'm tired, go home. I don't care if I've only taught a fourth of the class.
Yeah, your like mileage may vary as far as like secondary education goes. Like really look into what you're getting into before you do.
I will say though, when it comes to the arts and degrees and stuff, the exception to all this is if you are looking to immigrate to a different country to do your work, degrees are necessary for visas.
Right.
So unfortunately, that does put a significant paywall behind being an international artist. But hey, this is indie animation, and we don't ask you to move to LA to work on our project.
You can work remotely. We have people in the Philippines and in Australia and New Zealand, and I think Indonesia and
Paris. It's just we got them from all over the place. We got so many Canadians. And there's, increasingly it's looking like the world, especially after the reunion tour is over, is going to start adopting more of an online work environment. So hopefully this changes for the better.
Virtual studios, that's the thing.
I hate the idea that you have to like spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on a degree just for the chance to work at Cartoon Network. It's like, are you kidding me? Anyway, so next question. Cody the Space Dude asks, thank you for your donation. I think this might be my first time donating to a stream. Aw. I'm usually a Honeycast viewer, but I've picked up Lackadaisy as well. Keep doing what you guys are doing. You are awesome. I love you all.
Thank
you so much, Cody.
Aww, thank you,
Cody. I know we make fun of your fans, Ashley, but they're sweet people. I love that they fuck around.
You make fun of my fans? What the fuck? No, it's fine.
I make fun of you.
Me
I'm like,
and
you know
them
how we
all
continue.
deserve it. We're
It's
horrible
all
gremlins.
out of
I love
love.
it. I love it. No, it's what I want. I was like, this is the audience I want. Gremlin audience. That good gremlin energy, and then I can be King Gremlin.
Bring the gremlin energy, guys.
The Goblin King.
Goblin King is me. Yeah, you've seen my persona. What is that thing if not a goblin?
Exactly.
All right.
Okay. Emily Farias asks, thank you for your donation.
Thanks again, Emily. That was like I think the third
thank
one.
you.
Thank you so much.
What was the most difficult part of converting the comic to the animation? I think that's going to have to be a Tracy question, actually, because it's like
ongoing thing. But in writing, like we said before, it was the trying to play to two different audiences: one that's already familiar with the comic, and one that has never heard of it before. And that was tricky. And trying to write something that was that felt new and original, but still had that Lackadaisy feel to it. That didn't just rehash everything that the comic has already done, but also felt familiar enough that where we could introduce the idea of the comic in a similar way that the comic itself does. So that
it'd be its own self-contained story also that you could just enjoy on its own terms.
Yeah, self-contained story with a solid beginning, middle, and end, and everything. Yeah, it was hard. It was not easy script to write. I've never written a script before for like an animation or a film, so yeah, it was a new experience and a difficult one. My writing, I'm just like Ashley was saying, I am very shaky. Like, you can ask me to draw a picture, I'm like, all right, I'll do it, and then ask me to write something, and like the sweat starts pouring off my face like that, you know. That
I find that hilarious because I think you're a very good writer. You're a very good writer, and so for you to say, "Oh no, I suck at writing," I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about?
I am insecure about my art in all the ways that most artists are, but then when it comes to writing, I'm like, multiply that by about 1,000, and that's how insecure I am about my writing. But yeah, I don't feel like I'm on, like I know what I'm doing. So so I try.
Nobody knows
I
what
try
they're doing.
real
We're
hard.
all monkeys.
I'm a try hard. I'm a try hard writer. I try to get it right. I do my best, but yeah.
That's the bit of you that's very Rocky. You're tapping into.
Yeah.
Please like me.
But I mean, like right now we're finalizing character turnarounds, character sheets for everybody, and that's tricky too because we've had to like boil the characters down to their essential elements, and it's not easier. Like
make it so other people can draw them.
Right. It's quicker to draw them this way, but it's not easy to design them this way so that they still retain all of the elements of their character, like their expression,
and also retaining like the energy that Ty did in the original designs, because Ty did all the exploration, and we have another character designer taking that and basically like nailing it into a consistent model sheet, and having to coordinate that is so difficult.
Yeah, it's hard to maintain that energy when you're drawing something like when you're drawing something that doesn't need to be animated. It's just a 2D drawing. You can add so much fluidity and energy to the line works and everything, but then when you try to like transpose that to something that
draw that same
must
thing
be drawn consistently from every
like
angle. It's
Yeah.
hard, and that's a challenge, but I think it's working out well so far. We've shared some of our character sheets, and actually I think I have one open.
Are you gonna put up the Rocky sheet soon? Because that boy was a nightmare.
Oh yeah, I can show a little preview of them if I can.
Oh, that'd be wonderful. Yeah, I'm gonna look at the stream myself.
Let's see. Oh, there's Ivy.
Where is? Oh, here it is.
If you see the stream, I was just about to do a little bit of
look at it. I have it muted, so take a
look. We've got our artist Lee.
Sorry about my dog. She wants to go out.
We got
so
Lee working on these, and then we do lots of notes and back and forth to get it just right. Sorry, Newt. What were you gonna say?
We just got a $50 donation from Fetch Monkey that reads Pog.
Hey,
Poggers.
Oh my God! No, zoom in on the excited face on Ivy so that they can see what she's saying.
We have Ivy Poggers.
Yes, we have Ivy Poggers on the sheet. Zoom in, please.
Where are we?
Yeah, get to that.
Where?
Yeah. Oh wait, no, it doesn't say it anymore. But on the doodle, Lee actually wrote that's Poggers, Freckle, and we were just
yeah,
that was left in the sheet because it made me laugh.
I don't know if I have that one still.
Oh, it's somewhere in the server. If you could dig it up, don't bother though. She's just saying Poggers. Yeah, it's the one with the excited face where it was written. but it's not there in the sheet anymore because Lee is a professional. For shame.
Yeah, we don't ever draw anything inappropriate on our work.
No, never, never, ever, ever. No, it's
here.
Super professional at all times. No jokes allowed on Booze Cats. Oh, there it is. Yeah, zoom in on that baby.
I don't know if I can get
zoom in on her. Yeah, it's high res enough. They can see it. Yeah. Wow, wow, Freckle. That was pretty poggers. Oh, she's so good. Ivy's actually been the easiest character out of all of them.
Yeah, she went fast with Ty, and then again with Lee doing the sheet. It's gone.
And then all the animators pretty much get her like immediately.
Yeah,
and
considering how much poking we have to do at like Freckle and Victor and Rocky.
Fucking Rocky.
Yeah, fucking Rocky.
Fucking Rocky. He's just that face. He's just made of weird shapes that don't generally get stuck together. And to take him and like he can look off so quickly. Like Rocky always rides like this line of like appealingly creepy, but he can go really quick into just actually creepy with just very, very little effort. So he's a challenge and a half. So you can show them the Rocky sheet if you want.
Sure, that's what I'm doing.
Go bring that up.
With the
all that work, with all that effort.
Yeah, he needed the most detail of anybody because he does the most yammering and
so much.
He kind of like takes over the scene whenever he's in it. As you probably, if you read the comic, you know he's like a loud, obnoxious character. So
I have lately been likening him to Jim Carrey for our animators as far as like some of his physicality and stuff, and it's like Jim Carrey also eats a scene whenever he's on scene, so you can
every
see
time there was like a tiny update to Rocky's like model sheet, Michael would immediately be like, Ashley, come look, and he would like zoom in into detail on like, every change. And Michael
that's so cute. It's because the voice actors are pretty quiet overall, so I have no idea if they're paying any attention.
Oh, he pays so much attention. He's always so excited. And like
that's precious.
He's been bringing all of the art of Rocky into Clip Studio Paint, and he's been like coloring it and stuff.
That's adorable. I'm imagining just Mike just sitting there with like lying down.
Your guys' Rocky art. Your guys' Rocky art has just been his coloring book lately. It's so precious.
We need to do him a picture of like Rocky coloring a picture of Rocky. So
yes,
good. There's your filler.
There we go.
Yeah, Rocky gets some boardwalk artist to do a doodle of him, like a caricature, and he looks at it and he's like, it could be better, and he just starts noodling it to death. So it's like I feel like Rocky would be
I've ever heard, but yeah,
artist if he put more attention to it, because clearly he does enjoy drawing.
Yeah,
like he's always adding doodles to whatever he's got to.
He's got the impulse to draw. So yeah.
He's very artistic.
Michael loves drawing, but he hates like sitting down and thinking about drawing. So he doodles all the time, and they're actually pretty good. But like he doesn't actually like drawing, and so I'm just like, that makes me so sad.
But I'm just so delighted to hear that he's like engaged with the character that much. It's like I hope that all the voice actors enjoy their characters. So far, they've all responded really positively to things like that. Not all of them knew the story before they were hired. Some of them got introduced like after the fact they got hired, and they're like, I guess I'll read the comic. And then they just like immediately like, I'm so down for this. Like Benny started reading the comic. She's like, I love Seraphine. And she just like got her so fast. In our last Lacka chat, we had some questions about Seraphine, and then Benny chimed in with an idea, and we were like, me and Tracy just listening and enraptured, because it's like, no, that sounds really good. Like questions about like, when would Seraphine be vulnerable, and like Benny's insight into like what might that be like was just so fun to listen to. And that's, speaking of fun, like that might be one of the most fun things, is like seeing how other people contribute to making this character happen, because animation is a collaborative process. No one person is doing it. And whenever you see a cartoon, you're seeing like this magic trick of so many different people bringing this character to life. And between the animators and the voice actors, I mean, they're really like working in conjunction with one another. One is the physicality, the other one providing the breath. And together, and this sounds so lame, but together they're making a soul. Like they're putting a soul in this drawing to make it like work. Look at that wonderful wick.
These are Kazoodle Cats emojis. They'll be really, really tiny. When we
so
actually
good.
make them.
I love these.
She painted them at a much larger size so we could have fun with them.
Yeah. Yeah, but I love it when the voice actors chime in and they express their enjoyment of what's going on, because it's super encouraging. Like
Belle's
it makes you want to work harder.
Yeah. Belle's
Yeah.
been super into watching like the development on Freckles, so that's been very.
Oh, he's so down for it. He's also very vocal about everything. I think he grokked Freckle super fast.
Yeah.
He was like, "Oh no, I know this boy. I am this boy," and I'm just like, "That's beautiful."
It always makes me so happy when I see like voice actors like growing attached to their characters or like really enjoying them. Like my voice actress for Lucia, the main human female character in Hell Puppy, like when she added Lucia's character art to like her banner on Twitter, I was like, oh my god, yay!
That shit gets me emotional. I'm just like, oh no, you love it. Oh, because you if nothing else, you want the people working on it to have a good time, because it doesn't. It's like if everybody's miserable, but then everybody watches it, loves it, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's like any production I've been on, a good crew, like good crew composition, and like you enjoy working with them. You could be working on the lamest shit ever, but if the crew is fun, it's the best job.
You have to enjoy the process, because the satisfaction at the end is so fleeting. Like you will have like 5 minutes to enjoy it before you start noticing all the flaws that you missed, and, like nitpicking it in your own mind and everything. And so you have to like. You
can't make a cartoon without enjoying the process of making a cartoon. If all you do is want to watch a cartoon, I think you're gonna have a hard time.
Yeah.
Because most of making a cartoon is not actually that fun. Like most of my day, it's just hard work.
There's a lot of toil. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's worth it. It's worth it to me anyway. All right.
So Javier, let's head. Thank you.
Now I want to see what Mike's coloring in, but we got to answer in more questions.
We're gonna have to poke him and find out.
Yeah.
Javier Acosta, thank you for the donation. I'm trying to practice drawing more, but due to lack of motivation, I always fall back on it. From any of y'all's point of view, what are some tips to get into the habit of drawing more? Hope you're all doing well. Well, first, thank you very much. For the habit of drawing,
character you like and that you want to draw over and over again.
Don't worry about like focus on drawing what you like, because as much as you should like, as much as people will push you to say like, okay, do observational drawing of this, that, and the other thing, like you gotta first and foremost focus on the stuff that's going to keep you drawing. Because if you're drawing things that you aren't that interested in, but you're doing it for a learning purpose, but you lose interest, then you stop drawing altogether anyway, and that's not going to get you anywhere. So draw what you're interested in, and expand from there. So like if
there's actually nothing wrong with a comfort zone.
Yeah.
Because you can expand your comfort zone.
Right.
You know.
You can always reach out from there. Even if you get stuck in a rut, you can learn your way out of it, you know. But
I mean, essentially that's what Lackadaisy was. You were like, I want to draw cat people like being gangsters.
Much. I mean, by and large, yeah. I mean, like I wanted to draw something fun that I enjoyed, and I designed it with that in mind. Like it's so self-indulgent. Like it's all the stuff I'm interested in, like the history of the 1920s, Art Deco, cats, and you know, the fashion of the era and everything like that, and just kind of all glommed into this one thing, and so it keeps me interested in working on it because I'm interested in all aspects of it.
My comic, you look at it and you're like, oh, Fable, you're a really fucked up person, aren't you?
You can tell.
Like,
oh yeah, it's very revealing. Like, look at what an artist is drawing, and it's very revealing, like what they're interested in. But
I get kind of sheepish about it, not because I don't love drawing that stuff, but because I have this lingering concern that someone's gonna assume that I'm like condoning murder or something.
Oh.
It's like, no, I'm just kind of fascinated about the interplay between writing hyperviolence and like doing drama and stuff. And shut up, it's fine.
Like you can explore terrible things without condoning them. There's certainly a difference.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah, I hope nobody thinks I'm like condoning murderous gangsterism or whatever. Gangsterism is not a word, but
2020 Tracy calling you out for being totally okay with Victor like murdering a dude.
Oh yeah,
just straight up murdering a dude and then lying about it. And it's fine. It's real funny because he murdered a dude. Tracy, how dare you make murder funny?
I know.
Don't you know you're not allowed to portray villains actually acting like villains?
I know, because every character is a stand-in for the author's point of view. Exactly, don't you know? So if a character thinks or does something awful, then that must be what the author thinks too, right? It's like, yeah, no, that's not how it works. But people sometimes
you don't know me. Maybe I do like it.
I mean, frequently there are self-insert characters. Like lots of people write self-inserts, but like. I'm trying not to do that. None of these characters represent my point of view about murder.
I mean, they'll have pieces of yourself, but I unless you have a secret double life as like a serial killer or a hitman for hire, Tracy, I'm going to assume that you are not Mordecai.
No.
Yeah.
I would be much clumsier than Mordecai if I
Tracy Butler's secret hitman and Mordecai is actually a self-insert this entire time.
No, I can certainly relate to Mordecai on some things, but not on like the hitman part of anything. Like definitely on the social.
I draw the line if I went into a line of work and they're like, "Yeah, we don't get enough accounting work."
I can relate to feelings.
Kill this guy for us.
Like the whole ficus thing, him wishing he was a ficus. That's how I feel at parties, so I can relate to him. Like I wish I could just like be a plant.
No, those are some of my favorite parts of him, though. It's just like when he's just like a total stick in the mud. Yeah. It's like, oh no, I know this guy. That's I've told you, I'm like, they're the people that he reminds me of leave me kind of uncomfortable in the end. Anyway, okay, next question. Izzy Pereira asks, I have a friend who's a writer. How can they meet artists in need of writers for their projects? Are there hashtags? Love you all. Heart. I guess just chat with people. Like if you see that artists might need writers, friends that might need a writer, I mean, you could offer. But oftentimes you're going to just offering might not be great because people will reach out when they need help. And I know, unfortunately, everybody's terrible at reaching out when they need help. Looking at everybody here in this chat, including myself. So I think it's like, it's one of those things where like, if you're already doing the thing with someone, then other people find out about it and then they'll come to you. So you kind of have to just start, I guess. But yeah, I mean, if you have a friend who's like an artist and who's just like wanting to do something and they need like some writing help, you can, just offer to help and, see where that goes and figure out like what's the working style that works best for you.
Personally, I've found that putting my work out there is the thing that attracts other people to me that who want to come, like just putting my art out there and having a web presence has brought me.
And I know that's difficult when you're a writer.
Yeah, it's harder when you're a writer because art is something you can glance at. Writing is something that takes more investment, and so to get people to actually read your stuff, it does take some effort. But there I can recommend if you are a writer who wants to be noticed. There have to be communities where like writers and artists hang out together, creative types, people doing fan fiction stuff, like probably fan fiction. Fanfic
would be the fanfic and RP.
Like find an artist who like if your writer friend has an interest in any particular fandom. Find artists through that fandom and maybe work on a fan project, but then expand to doing proprietary stuff, your own things at some point. But like
I highly recommend RP. I highly recommend RP.
Definitely
for anybody who wants to find the intersection between artists and writers. RP is amazing, and you will develop your writing skills also because there actually is a lot of good stuff that you learn through RP that can help you when you're doing like a group writing thing. Like me and Tracy were writing the script. It felt kind of like
role playing, like back from like 10 or 12 years ago when like I had time for that.
It was fun, and I was just like, this is I love RP. I just don't have any time for it. And now to be able to sit down and be like, I am making the most advanced Lackadaisy fan thing of all time. This is my fanfic.
Oh no!
I guess.
Basically.
I was surprised at like you compliment me on the writing because I was like, I'm so sorry if I'm butchering these characters. And you're like, no, you seem to get it. I'm like, what, really?
Yeah, you certainly understand them better than most people, I think.
I'm trying. I think it's that I relate to lots of the characters like a lot. Like I feel like I have a lot in common with Rocky, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I get that. I get where he's coming from, and I get like where it's sincere and stuff and the problems that he runs into. I also really get Mordecai.
Mm-hmm.
I told you I have family members he reminds me of, and unfortunately I carry that in my own brain too. So I get him quite a bit. I've also says like feel like Zib has a lot of the energy that I'm kind of like slowly sinking into.
Yeah.
I walk around in my bathrobe tired with like a cup of coffee going like, I guess I'm awake now. I'll put all my energy into my art and nothing goes into anything else.
Zib is like a hippie before his time, I think.
The original hipster,
yeah.
Zib. If you bring him to 2020, Zib is just the exact same thing.
He would have fit in the 60s really well. The 60s and 70s, he would have been like right in
he had the best time ever, and then he's miserable any other
that
time.
Whole, like, yeah.
Born too early. Oh, I'm so sorry, baby. He's gonna be old, and it's the 60s. It's like, I wish I had hips to be able to do this, but I sold them for liquor.
Yeah.
Okay, I got another
upset
question.
that he missed out on the whole LSD thing. So yeah.
Aren't we all?
See, this is why we need the 2020 AU version as just like this some side filler where we just like throw the characters at modern shit just for shits and giggles, like Sid getting really into mushrooms.
Oh, goodness.
I joked about you like 2020 Lackadaisy, they run a dispensary and Rocky absolutely vapes and has a YouTube prank channel.
He'd be so much more low-key.
Yeah.
What if Rocky just drinks way too much syrup and has an acid trip where he just imagines like the future?
He imagines like the summer of love in 1967 or whatever.
Yeah. That can be your AU.
Seems within the bounds of mini comics I've done before, so yeah, it could happen. All right, did we answer that last question thoroughly enough? I don't.
What was the last question?
It was about finding a artist to go with a writer. Yeah, I think online communities like look for the art and writing community, creative communities like fandom stuff is gonna be big for like attracting both artists and writers and role play. So I think that
you want to find the opportunities to build a community and like get involved with community stuff. And as much as fandom gets decried and stuff, it's a group of people who are joined together for their love of something in particular. And there can be like a lot of inspiration in that kind of thing. In the Lackadaisy server, I mean, most of the art that people are sharing is not fan art. They're drawing their own stuff and they're getting feedback from other people and bouncing off of it. And they know that the community of people has kind of similar tastes as them. So communicating with them can be enlightening.
Okay. Sidcam, thank you very much for the donation. Says, hey, longtime fan of the Lackadaisy comic and absolutely can't wait for the animated short. Thank you. Also, Ash, I'm a big Honeycast fan. I can't wait for Hell Puppy. Is there will there be any merch yet?
For Hell Puppy or Lackadaisy?
I think they're asking about
the way it's
Hell
phrased.
Puppy.
I think they're asking about both.
Or Honeycast and Puppy. I don't know.
There is Honeycast
referring to Hell Puppy for Ashley and Lackadaisy for us.
Okay, go ahead and answer, Ashley.
There will be Hell Puppy merch. I don't feel comfortable selling merch until we at least have the first teaser out, because it feels weird trying to sell a product for something that like does exist but doesn't quite exist yet. So once that first teaser is out, I've got a whole bunch of stuff lined up that I can't wait for you guys to see.
You got some cool stuff. I mean, you got definitely an eye for merch stuff that I have never been able to develop. I've been so shitty about merch.
My method of making merch is what would I want to buy, and then I just make it. And if people do or don't like it, well, that's fine. I got the cool thing that I wanted.
Yeah, that Hell Puppy logo alone will make a great like sweatshirt or t-shirt or anything. It's really very cool.
Yeah, my friend Caitlin Vilbrandt designed that for me, and she is incredible. She does her own furry animal comic called Tamberlane.
Oh,
And she also like does graphic design and like web design and like programming, and like she's a jack of all trades, and I'm like, how the hell do you do that?
Where do you find the time to do all of it?
How? What are you made out of?
Wow.
I don't get it. I wish I had the energy for that kind of stuff, but every time I try to put in the energy, it never pays off for me. I seem to be perpetually cursed that every time I try to merchandise anything I'm working on, it sells nothing. It's like, I wasted money I don't have.
That was me for a very, very long time. It's a really odd skill to try and pick up and learn.
Mm-hmm. It's like, and it is a skill, like knowing what people want and that kind of thing. Okay.
For Lackadaisy, we don't have any planned at this time, except for those shot glasses, which
we have the shot glasses. We have the books.
Are underway. The books, of course. Yeah, I mean that's
we would of course love to do more, but we were trying to keep this Kickstarter pretty focused.
Yeah, we have only so much time and budget and energy, and so we want to focus it on the animation above all. And when you start adding merch and things, you got to start doing the graphic design and
somebody's got to like manage all that too,
and ship it out and everything and store it. And so that's a lot. It's a lot. You have to kind of have like a team of other people working on that for something like this, and
we do for the shot glasses. Like I'm
gonna be doing all that myself for Help Puppy. Just
I can put you in touch with our folks if you want.
Like
I would vastly appreciate it.
Yeah,
they are
like they'll do the research for you and find the place to make it, like the ideal manufacturer for you, and do the ordering for you and everything. And it's a huge burden off your shoulders to not have to worry.
Yeah, we know. We also personally know the people involved who are
Kiki Doodle's partner, and like has his own business for this sort of thing.
Yeah, who's also named Nick, and he's been just amazing. Him and Christina for helping us with the shot classes, because they took our basic concept. They were like, "Ooh, what if you did this?" And we were like, "That." We need to do that.
Yeah, and they actually found like a manufacturer who could do the box idea, like the embalming fluid box. And we're like, oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So they were incredibly helpful. So we can put you in touch with them. But if you're hearing us, audience, it's basically, if you can't do it, find someone else who can. Reach out to them, someone who's more experienced, and either pick their brain or straight up hire them. Honestly,
I mean, when you're like bare bones, like you got to do everything yourself. But once you start establishing a little something, you get a little momentum. Like start working with other people, because you have to recognize you can't do everything. It took me a long time to ask anyone for help, or to ask anyone to collaborate with me on anything. Like
you asked me for help. You asked me for help on this.
That was very unusual for me. I have to say, like reaching out to
anybody. I was surprised, because I know that you were like an intensely private person.
I'm basically a hermit, so like it's unusual. And like Newt had to come to me about the Discord thing. Like that was Newt's idea. So
delegating and learning when to say, I don't know what I'm doing, I need help, is such a valuable and difficult skill.
It is not a weakness, it is a strength, I'm telling you.
No, absolutely. It like anybody telling you otherwise has either no idea what they're talking about, or they're trying to keep you from helping yourself. So definitely don't respect that. I'll just keep saying, we are a social species. Lean into that instinct. Right. It's a good one.
Bear your budget in mind, of course, but
I mean, like don't break your bank. Keep things reasonable, but do what you can, and with momentum. None of us really expect to get rich out of what we're doing.
No,
we're just trying to have a sustained job doing this. We just want to make it keep happening.
In case it was a secret of some kind, like nobody goes into animation or comics for the money. Like nobody. So,
no.
So yeah, if you're doing okay, if you're like making ends meet that way, you're doing pretty good as an artist goes. Like.
It's a rare artist who can totally bank off of their stuff and their stuff alone. Tracy, you're a miracle.
A lot of it's like just timing of like when I got into Patreon and things like that, and You know, a lot of it's going to be happenstance. Don't beat yourself up if you're not, like, even if you're like 10 years beyond out of school or whatever, and you're still not able to do, like, to make it as a freelancer, that's not uncommon at all. And it's not even necessarily like something that's in your control. It's just like, art is one of those things where people still have this weird attitude about paying artists for their work at a fair rate because they don't view art as work. And so, you know, you're kind of stuck in that society where that's the mentality. And so, yeah, it really sucks, but look for the opportunities where they arise, and, you know, take some chances, and, you know, sometimes things work out.
Make mistakes, get messy.
Yeah, don't be afraid to make mistakes. I've made many of them. So
Magic School Bus for all your educational needs.
Yeah. And then every now and then you'll hit on something that'll just like catch fire a little bit, and you can run with that.
All right, next question from Dakota to Bear. I agree with your statement on RP because it helps with storytelling, and a big one, dialogue. Oh, yes.
Yeah,
RP is one of the best tools for learning how to write convincing dialogue, because you're playing chat room with someone.
Yeah.
You're being a writing actor.
You're kind of learning how to act as a writer, because acting is reacting, right? Is what they say.
Yeah, and so when you're writing with someone else, like, if they're not responding very well to what you're writing, then, you know, you probably got to tweak something. But also they might ask you questions of, like, what does this mean? And then, you know, oh, I got to work on this, which kind of helps. I mean, you're basically field testing your writing, ain't you? And it's fun also. It's like you can write a whole ass book with someone, and it takes like no time. Because it's just really fun.
Yeah. And you end up with a bunch of creative material and ideas and characters that you've developed just as like side effects of doing that. So you can like take them, and I know like some comic writers that I follow got like basically all of their material from role playing. So yeah. All right. Next.
Yeah, my comic even started as a role play group originally, and I had like built this whole world for the purposes of RP, and then like that started to die, and I was like, you know, I really like this though. I really just want to keep the story going, and I just had developed them so much that I was like, fuck it, I'll just do a comic. Let it be all my own thing. Fine. Okay, so next question from Leslie Mae Mikasa says, can I have a request? My family is having a financial crisis, and I might not be able to go to 9th grade this year. Can I hear some supportive words from y'all?
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, you'll be okay. Like I said earlier, education can happen at any age, and I'm so sorry with what you're dealing with right now.
Yeah, I do.
But bad times... there will be bad times in your life. That doesn't mean that the good times won't happen too. And sometimes you have to like weather your way through it, and you lean on each other to get through it. And you know, talk to who you can to.
Yeah, and remember you're not alone too. Like,
you are not alone.
Everybody is going through a hard time, and sometimes, however bad that is overall, it's like it feels a little less awful because, you know, you're not by yourself in it. It's not just you isolated in this bad spot. It's like everybody can kind of pull together and sympathize. And like, we've been trying to do more social things with like the Lackadaisy Discord and Lackachat and everything, because in large part we know that it's like people are stuck at home, and a lot of people are out of work, and
we're stuck at home.
Back to school. Like their school year was basically like stolen from them, and they didn't get to do their
so bad for all the kids who are in school right now.
Yeah.
Like, God,
it's really
I feel
rough.
bad. Like, my neighbor was graduating this year, and she was supposed to go on this big like senior year trip, and that she had like done fundraising for, and all of it got canceled. Her graduation got canceled, and she just like, as much as I would have like been thrilled to not have to go to school when I was younger, like, this is a social person who like was looking forward to all this stuff, and like, if your graduation is canceled, I mean, that just really sucks. That's like a milestone in your life, you know. So so that is hard, and even, you know, if you're not out of a job, then it's still like everything's in turmoil right now. It's just like we're all just sitting here going like, is anything ever going to return to normal? And maybe it shouldn't. I don't know, maybe we just need the change, but I think we're going to come out of this different. But yeah, you're not alone, and seek out like communities where where people are, you know, dealing with the same stuff. And
there's a lot of other kids dealing with that right now. So if nothing else, as shitty as the circumstances are, you have a lot of other people to commiserate with about it, which makes it a little bit easier than if it was just happening to you right now. So you can find people to talk to about it, and there's no shame in being upset or crying or being angry or anything like that. There is no problem with having a quote unquote a negative emotion about the situation. In fact, allowing yourself that emotional release can be very important, because if you bottle it up, it hurts you. It will eat away with you.
Having a creative outlet has been like life-saving for me at so many times
very
in my life.
I don't know how I'd handle everything going on right now if I didn't have Lackadaisy.
I know, the distraction, sometimes the distraction is just like vital for living. Like you have to have something to focus on that isn't the news every day, to keep yourself going. And so find a thing, like if you don't have like a hobby or passion or something, like find something to do, like writing, even if it's gaming, or
you don't have to take it super seriously either.
It doesn't have to be like it doesn't have to be like this deadly serious thing that you're gonna turn into a career. Just find
literally just make it for you. In stuff like that, it's why a lot of what we're talking about is like making something appealing to other people. But honestly, with stuff like that, art is primarily your therapy, and that's totally okay. And just find something that you can just pour your brain into, and that can help mitigate the stress while you're dealing with it. And then but like it's okay to cry. It is absolutely okay to cry. I cry. I need to cry sometimes, and
get out and like get some exercise too. I cannot stress how good that is.
Oh my god, yes.
Mental well-being.
Put your mask on, please, and put it on properly over your nose.
Put your mask on, but if it's like just too much, just go walk. Go for a walk, go for a hike in the woods, just, you know, get out of the house for a bit, go for a drive even. Probably can't drive if you're in 9th grade, but I mean, just get out of the house. I mean,
well, I don't know, maybe they're very advanced 9th grade. I mean, what else do they have to do but learn how to drive a car? That sounds like...
Drive your Razor scooter somewhere, I don't know.
Now you have me imagining the 2020 characters, like... What was it? We were joking about Freckle being a emo skater boy. Freckle with a Razor scooter.
Boy. See you later, boy.
To folks who are having a rough time, there's a really good video I saw recently that I'm posting in the chat by a gentleman by the name of CGP Grey.
He's wonderful.
Some of you may know his stuff. This is called Spaceship U, and it's basically about how to stay sane during all of this. But also how to be in a situation where you can, re-enter society after this is all over without any, without major effort or another tonal shift in the other direction. Once everything starts to go back to some sense of normalcy.
It's having come from pretty rough circumstances. When you're in the middle of it, you come up with certain tools to handle it. But then when you're out of it, you have to kind of unlearn some of those tools, and
on the other hand,
basically just got to be very aware of yourself.
Some of those tools will serve you well in other circumstances too.
Oh, totally. I've been dealing with terrible anxiety and depression for so many years that it's like with everything going on, I'm like, I feel like
you come up with those coping mechanisms in the hard times, and then stuff kind of rolls off your back a little bit more when you get a little older. You're like, okay, I can deal with this. I've dealt with worse, so It's character building,
and we're all learning something,
I think
it is rough though. It is totally rough. Not gonna lie.
It's also like this is how change happens, and so some things that are happening right now, I think, had to happen, and it's gonna be hopefully for the better in the long run. It takes a while to get there, but sometimes it's hard to see. But
there's a lot of bad happening. One of my friends who is intensely close to what's going on said it's like popping a pimple. The pus is coming out, and y'all gotta be ready with the antibiotics and the stitches and stuff to clean it.
God damn, what kind of pimples are you popping?
Well, look.
No,
my face is a problem. Let's say it's a big pimple. Like a pimple is too small. I'm thinking about lancing a large boil, several of them. but
Some of
it
them
needs
look
to
like-
happen eventually.
Some of them look like Confederate soldiers, but yeah.
Ooh. Hmm.
Yeah, but I think,
All right, so we have another question from actually we could skip ahead to this question over here by Joyce because Benny actually just hopped in just to listen to us,
hey.
and they said something nice about Seraphine, and Benny, I think you'll be delighted by this. Joyce Rodriguez says, Seraphine gay energy from earlier. Has Ashley read Lackadaisy yet? I need to know. Also, Seraphine is a hot piece of ass.
Oh Lord, I have read a little bit of Lackadaisy, but my great shame is that I am like a small child, and I have read Lackadaisy by looking at the pictures and going, "Oh, they're pretty," and not reading any of the words.
I get that a lot. Like, people are like, "Oh, I've loved looking at your comic for the past several years." I'm like, "Oh, okay." Like, and then they're like, "Oh, I only just read it." It's like, "Oh, it's got a story." Like, yeah, it does. If anybody's even looking at it at all, I'm grateful for it. So that's cool with me.
Yeah.
Also, wait, is Benny the voice of Seraphine?
Yeah.
Yes, this is the voice of Seraphine.
Oh
Hey,
no.
Benny just wanted to hop in to listen, but then someone mentioned it, and I didn't want to draw attention to her because I know she just wanted to listen. But
Hi, Benny. I'm unbelievably gay for your character. I need you to know this. She is wonderful.
We all are.
I don't know.
Benny stole the show at our last Lacka chat. It was amazing.
Yeah. No, she's incredible.
And Malcolm were just great together. So yeah, we had a grand time. And in fact, we just posted just earlier today, the highlights went up. So if you're looking for something funny to listen to, like, the voice actors just went to town on the last chat, and Ash did us the honor of, not Ashley here, but Ash Wagner, editing our 7-hour stream down to 15 minutes, miraculously, of just pure gold. So have a listen if you get a chance.
I need to change my name. There's too many Ashes and Ashleys.
We do have a lot of Ashes and Ashleys about lately. Yeah.
We have 4 Jacks, and they've been assigned
card suits.
They've all been assigned suits, yeah. So and then we also have a swamp of designers. So we have Frog, Newt, and then Cass decided that they were going to be Amphibian too, and now they're Toad.
We need to do it. Yeah. We need to do not only.
Yeah, we have the whole last Wind of the Willows going on with our design team. Yeah, it's great.
Compiling a list of all the drawings we need to do. We need to draw them as their little Swamp Friends design team thing, and then we need to do Rocky coloring Rocky. So keep those in mind.
Benny's saying sweet things in the chat. That she's not chatting at the moment, but she's saying very nice things. It's like, oh, look at all those hearts. Benny, you're a sweetheart. Thank you. Okay, so next question from Kimbrium, re-pitching to networks, specifically Ashley's hesitations. So basically, if you pitch it to a network and they accept it, they own it afterwards? Well, it depends on your contract.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Ideally, you want to have a representative on hand who has your interests in mind, who is familiar with entertainment law and all of that, and we'll look at the contract and make sure that it's favorable to you. So you can get terms written up so that you own what you do and that you can earn money off of the merch and you have control over things, and that if it's in production hell for a while, then you can take it back, things like that. So you can absolutely get a contract that is in your favor and people have. The problems happen when you are not familiar with those things, and people write stuff into the contract that's either just a default to take advantage of you or deliberately.
As someone, the amount to which you're going to have to compromise is probably going to be proportional to the amount of just persuasion and clout you have in the entertainment field. If you're coming in as this big bestseller and you've got a great lawyer and everything, you're probably going to get a pretty good deal. And if you're coming in as somebody who hasn't done this before and no one's heard of you and you haven't even worked in the studio system and you don't know any showrunners or other producers or anything, you're probably going to have a hard time negotiating something. Yeah,
so basically where I would be at.
Yeah, us too.
I have no pull. I have very few connections. A studio has no reason to give me a good deal. So I'm being as cautious with my baby as I humanly can, which is to not give my baby to a studio at all.
Right. So
Yeah.
so the more control you kind of have to cede, like the less power you have, like perceived power you have in the environment you're in, like the more you have to cede to them to do what they want to do, because they're going to be risk averse above all. They're going to want to minimize risk. So if they want to change, like you get this thing, like I've heard so many stories of people pitching ideas and they've got like this like young girl as like their protagonist, and the studio's like, well, we're interested, but can you change the girl to a boy, because you know boys won't relate to girl characters and things like that. So like I've heard so many stories about like changes that they will ask for that will just change fundamentally what your thing is. And they're doing it with the aim of making it marketable, and sometimes like because they want to make money off of it. Obviously they don't want to lose money on it. And so like those ideas
they have their own ideas about what will make it successful that might not have a lot of faith in what you believe is like worth investing time in. Real quick, guys, we are at 8:00, and I did say that we were going to go 2 hours. Okay. But if you guys want to, we can go for like maybe another half hour, but it's up to you. I just don't want to make this go too long because we do have stuff to do.
I'm good.
I can go a little longer.
Okay. Yeah, well, let's make sure we get through these the rest of these questions that
But yeah, sometimes networks can marketabilize something into oblivion to the point where your baby is nowhere near what it used to be, and it turns out terrible, and then everybody's like, you hear about this Ashley person and that horrible show she made that's terrible, and it's like, it didn't used to be.
I know, then your name is attached to it forever, and even like big, like, look what they did to Artemis Fowl. I mean, like, man,
God.
Yeah, people are not happy about that, but like.
Yeah. We got one small request from folks actually.
Real quick, in relation to what we were saying earlier about Seraphine's character, Benny wanted to say something.
Oh, Ashley.
God damn! One stream.
What was gonna happen?
Okay, but I was serious that I wasn't gonna do that, but then Benny offered.
Benny, I love you. You're a wonderful person. I can't get angry at you. This is my first time speaking to you, but also, God damn.
Benny, I'm so glad you hopped in. I was saying earlier, I don't think you were listening.
Chat's losing its shit.
Bitch losing its shit. We always love to tease our friend. We love her. But I was saying earlier that I was just really happy to hear that like Mike was really getting into Rocky. He's apparently been playing coloring book with him.
Oh goodness.
But yeah, whenever I hear from you voice actors that like you're really getting into the character and stuff, then it makes me like that much more like I want to make this work for you guys, and I'm excited by what you're doing and give you even more and stuff. And I'm just like super pleased. So like you guys, you want to be as vocal as you want to be. It's all super good. It only ever encourages me to make it worse.
Oh, the pleasure's all mine. It really is. And I am just moved almost to tears. I think as an actor, as an artist, one of the biggest compliments you can get is when the person who authored the source material loves what you've done with the character. So I'm just genuinely, deeply, and profoundly grateful to bring this to life. And I'm so sorry, Miss Ashley. I hope I didn't offend you none.
I'm wildly offended. You'll have to make it up for me by providing more wonderful voices for the lovely Seraphine.
Oh, but of course, my little papillon.
She's probably very genuinely super blushing. It's nothing like when Ed teases her.
I'm not horribly gay and losing my mind right now. Not at all. Never in a million years.
Meanwhile, I'm hoping that Mike is standing somewhere smiling, or maybe he's stuffing his face with candy. I don't know.
Oh, he bought a giant bag of Reese's cups, so I know exactly what he's up to right now.
That sounds real good. I wish I had some of that. But yeah, I was mentioning earlier, Benny, that like like the last Lacka chat where somebody asked about like Seraphine and vulnerability, and your take on her was actually like so spot on and interesting. I was just sitting there listening to you, and I was like, I like this idea so much. I love it so much. It's so it's always great when the actors can contribute to it, because it's like you guys aren't just like a tool, like a mechanical tool in the process. Like you are making the character alive, and so somebody's writing, someone's drawing, and someone's speaking, and you want everybody.
Yeah, you want everybody's contribution to the character. It just makes the character all the more whole.
It's such a complicated puppet show.
Yeah, it is.
And one of the most gratifying forms of collaborative art. It really is. When you think about all the hands that had to touch this character before I got my hands on it, it's, you know, she's a labor of love, and I'm happy to give it that final push.
Thank you. I mean, she wouldn't live without somebody who cared deeply about her in all respects.
Well,
so I've been having
thank you for writing her.
I've been having such a good time drawing her, and like the reactions people are having to her is just like everybody's like, oh no, she's so good. I was saying to Tracy, or I was like, Tracy, I'm drawing her and she's better than me. How do I draw her? She's better than me.
Yeah, Fable was doing.
When I was reading the script, I said to Fable, I was like, Fable, please give me one Seraphine shot to work on, please.
Has Benny seen have you shown Benny the storyboards for Seraphine's like?
Oh my God, Benny, have you been looking at the boards that have been?
We'll need to. We'll
I
ping
just
you on
jumped onto the chat maybe about 10 minutes ago.
We'll ping you on
I can roll it back. I don't want y'all to.
Yeah, we'll ping you on it, and because I absolutely want to show you everything. Yeah. Okay, so next question. Bronze asks, do good writing and drawing go hand in hand? No.
Sometimes.
No, they don't.
You maybe want them to, but they don't naturally go together. Like,
I've seen many a cartoon that was shit art but amazing writing, and vice versa.
I think honestly, my opinion lies in you can get away with shit art and good writing, but maybe not the opposite. Like I think you have a harder time. Like you can sell something just on the art alone, but I think it kind of like it's missing its soul a little bit if the writing is really weak. But you can get you can do a really, really good story, but with really loose art. Like you could illustrate it with stick figures, and it may still be compelling. But maybe that's just a weird bias I have, where I think the writing is more. I don't want to say important.
I mean, you can look at the work of the author who made One Punch Man and Mob Psycho 100.
Oh, yeah.
Original comics. I mean, I hate to say this about anyone, but his original art on the original comics was terrible.
Yeah, I've seen it. It's real rough.
Charm, but it's not traditionally good.
I mean,
but the writing and the characters and dialogue is all so phenomenal. People loved it anyway, and he has found wild success regardless of his artistic
I just think
skill.
of all the comics that were super popular or still are that relied on just stick figures and Order of the Stick and
Dinosaur comics.
Dinosaur comics and
Dinosaur comics was the same panels all the time.
Yeah, I mean, bad art even can be its own asset in that it can be funnier than just like thinking of Kingdom of Loathing and things like that, where it's all text except for little hilarious stick figure drawings, and that just adds something to it. So the art, sometimes bad art has that sort of low budget charm, but the way Mystery Science Theater does or whatever. So yeah, I think but they don't go hand in hand exactly, and they don't necessarily have to.
But they complement each other. They can complement each other.
Yeah.
It's kind of also if the sound is bad though, you can't get around that.
Oh yeah,
you can never get around that sound.
Bad sound will make any no matter how good the writing is or how good the art looks. If the sound is bad on an animated film or on any kind of film, it takes it to amateur hour immediately. It's just
you guys have no idea how much fussing we do with sound. We had a whole conversation. We were just in Discord chat the other day, just talking about fixing a subtle sound problem from the last Lacka chat, so we don't have that problem anymore. And just the bizarre rabbit holes that we started running down on just to solve anything. And it's just because bad sound ruins things. It ruins things. For the love of God, if you do a cartoon, get like pay attention to the sound, because I don't care how good the writing is or how beautiful everything is. If the sound is a mess, it's like you can't understand anybody. It distracts you. It's like the illusion is broken instantly. Like, you could get away with less art and better sound, and it would be better, like, for real. So I think a lot of people forget that, though. So I have opinions. All right, we got another question from Naruto91294. Hey, Ashley, how's your day going today?
I don't know how long ago this was, but if you're still there, hi. My day's going good, except my car died right before we started this, so that's cool.
Uh-oh.
It just
That's okay, no
refuses
one's
to
driving
turn
it.
on, and I have no idea why.
Battery, maybe?
Cry.
Maybe
The battery
My
just
battery-
died and got recharged like a couple weeks ago, so I'm just like, what happened?
I had the weird situation happen where I was like, okay, I'm feeling really antsy. I want to get out. I'm going to hop in my car and like go drive to a protest and like honk my horn or something. And I hop in my car and I'm like, the fuck's going on? Car doesn't start. We open up the hood. We look in the battery. All the electrolyte is gone. I'm like,
Oh no.
fuck, man. I was like so antsy that day. All I wanted to do was get out, and I felt so deflated. I was like, well, I guess I ain't going anywhere. Quarantine really is enforced right now for me.
No. Yeah, I'm gonna have to get like my car towed tomorrow and get it like checked out, because I have no idea how to figure out like what's wrong with it, because I have no skills in that regard. Yeah. So my day's going okay, but a little frustrating at the same time.
That sucks. But it's nothing too severe with the car. Sometimes the alternator goes, or there's like a parasitic drain on the battery, or
I was just about to replace it anyway, so if it's done, then so be it, but that would suck.
Yeah, that's never convenient. There's never a good time for that.
No.
Well. I think, yeah.
I mean, I guess I have nowhere to be technically but here.
I know. I've been driving my car like less than once a week at this point, because
saves so much on gas.
Yeah, but
I actually have no idea when the battery died, because it's like I hadn't started the car in a while, and now I start the car and I'm like, when did this happen?
Yeah, it's a good thing it's like warm out, because if it was wintertime, my car would be dying constantly, because the battery needs to you need to charge it up after like cold weather. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I hate it being warm out. My AC went out in mine.
Oh no.
Oh no.
No. All right, we got another question from Mechanic87. Mitzi not knocking to get into the Lackadaisy.
Ari is in like an email, like
it's
referring to when we were talking
okay, sorry. I mean, I know that, but my brain was not reading it right. Well, one of the benefits of the animation, for what I, a non-animator, can tell, would be that there's a few things that one can have visually that would give away that information, right? Yes,
right.
And that was written into the script. But we forgot to make it a little bit clearer that she was going from like one part of the building to another. So like in the script, there was she just walks out of her office and then she's at the speakeasy, and we're like, oh, I guess we need some transitional imagery.
Yeah, we
here.
Decided to put some transition in. Kelly came up with some really good ideas for that, and worked that in. And then we had her. She approaches the doors and kind of just stares at Horatio, who's being awkward, because the implication is he hasn't been doing this job for very long, and so he just is like, oh, hi Mitzi, and just stands there as like, okay, you're supposed to open the door for her, and so the implication would be that there'd be animation there or acting there that would imply that Mitzi's like, okay, open the door. But written into the script was just her standing there looking at him, or kind of staring at him, trying to cue him to open it, and so someone just reading the words may not have gotten like the visual cue that she owns the place, and this is her, because she goes in and starts telling people how to do their job, and so hopefully that comes across.
So you got to make sure that it's clear. It's like she owns this place,
right?
She's not, but I think now it's pretty obvious.
Some random Karen shows up and starts telling people what to do.
No, just some lady came in. Yeah, just a random Karen.
We need to change Mitzi's hairstyle to be the Karen hairstyle.
Oh no!
Oh no! Barred, banned, nope, veto. All right, I am the potato. Asks, how long does it normally take to do an animation, depending on how long it is? It depends. It depends.
How complex
I have seen a minute of animation take less than a month to complete, and I have seen a minute of animation take a year to complete. Like,
Yeah,
boy.
I mean,
it
if
depends
you've
on a
got-
million factors.
Yeah, I mean, compare like some of that crazy action stuff that you see coming out of like all these, characters diving through cityscapes and having like hand-to-hand combat, and then like camera moving at the same time as the characters moving, and explosions going off and things like that. And then compare just like a shot of a close-up of a character doing some single character like acting for a moment. Like it's like night and day, the amount of work going into one and the other.
Yeah.
And also, it can depend on what your time frame is and deadlines are, and like
Yeah.
what the situation
Yeah,
is. Like,
sometimes
How
there
much you're
was-
paying people? Like, can they afford to spend all their time on your thing, or are you paying them at a rate where they have to fit it around other stuff? But also, they might have other work they're doing, and they can't just like jet out of another project, even if they like your project is their favorite. They still have to do their work. So how do they juggle that? So with all that in mind, especially when you're indie, you gotta expect that it's probably going to take longer because you don't have full-time staff, and if you do, you're lucky. Like, I'm full-time on this, but I'm one of the few people.
The stars have aligned in certain situations where I've had a lot of things going on with freelance, where I've had to do a minute of animation in 24 hours.
Oh,
like,
I hate
wow.
that.
It was cleaned and colored too.
No.
All of the roughs and all the cleanup for a minute
No.
of animation, 24 hours.
No,
I don't know how I did it.
No. I just like thinking about it makes my hands hurt.
Oh, and most of the shots were crowd shots.
No! Oh God, I had a job like that. I hated that job. That was the worst. Oh,
It was
they did not pay
really
me enough
good.
money for that.
So yeah, it's a time.
Mm-hmm. All right, official Crash Neon. Hey guys, I got a question for Ashley and Fable. Do you have to retcon anything about the characters in Hellpupper and Lackadaisy from their original personas?
Everything about Hell Puppy has been retconned from what it originally was. Like, everything, like almost nothing is the same. So
that, in a way, that's the premise. In a way.
Yeah,
Without going
actually, in a
into
way.
details, like I had conversations with you about this, and I was like,
The
"Oh,
way
that
I've
explains
had
everything."
Yeah, the way that I have had to retcon Hell Puppy actually plays into the actual story now. But yeah, Hell Puppy started out as basically like my Danny Phantom OCs, very loosely. Because I made these characters when I was 12 years old. These are characters from when I was a tiny baby child, and I never let go of them because, they meant a lot to me, and so everything about them is completely different now. And yeah, I saw these really goofy looking, in retrospect, like characters, and I'm like, I love them, I want to do something with them, but they can't stay being what they are, so they've gone through a lot of adjustments. But when people tell me that Kira looks like a 12-year-old DeviantArt OC Sparkle Dog, I'm like, that's because she is. That's entirely exactly what she is. Congratulations, you got the point.
Yeah. As far as retconning characters on Lackadaisy, I don't think we really have run into that issue because we're really just summarizing things. I suppose if this did go to series, then we would have the opportunity to tweak some things, which I'm certain that Tracy is like, I would really have liked to do a different take on this scene.
Yeah.
So that would be an opportunity. But
in the broader arc, like, outside just the context of the animation, I come from like a similar thing where these were characters like Rocky and Mitzi were characters that I drew all over my school notes when I was like 12 years old, and they didn't really have any context then. They were just like cat people. But they had like names, and that was about it. And I would just like dress them up in different period costumes or something. I had like my Spanish book, and I would draw like have to put those like paper bag covers on your books in high school, like to protect them.
Oh, that's so precious.
I would draw like something thematic, so I drew like Mitzi as like a Spanish dancer on like the cover of the book and stuff. So yeah, I would just like did that, and then they had to become something more whole and more contextualized for like the comic much later. But for like the animation,
from the get they were retconned. For the animation, not so much. We're really trying to keep as like like Tracy is one of the writers on it. It's me and Tracy, so of course it still has like all the Tracy flavor in it.
Yeah,
it's like a little bit of whatever the fuck I got on
it messes
too.
with the timeline a little bit, like as
yeah,
opposed to
I mean,
comic,
like
which characters are doing which things at which time, and like it kind of establishes Rocky and Freckle and Ivy as kind of more of a team than they currently are, doing what they're doing, and
yeah,
also,
in the
like,
comic they kind of stumble into it, but in the short they're immediately there.
Yeah, they're kind of like, it starts out there instead of building up to that, and so it's a little bit of a timeline shift in a way. So it doesn't quite like fit into, like, you couldn't like take it and then slide it seamlessly into like the canon comic.
No, it wouldn't make any sense.
No.
In that case. It'd be like, wait, these two haven't talked to
But all
each
the
other
characters
yet.
are fundamentally themselves with like the same backstory and everything. It's just not like it hasn't changed anybody. Like,
no, I think if anything, repeatedly I'd be writing in more stuff for Mordecai, and you're just like, he wouldn't be that chatty though, and I'm like, but I want him to say stupid things. I want him to complain though.
I regret that we couldn't like explore more of Mordecai's just like dorkiness, but yeah.
Is Mordecai the Karen of the show?
A little bit. Like, he might ask to speak to the manager. He might.
I could see him doing that. Yeah, he would not.
The service was not satisfactory.
And just sit there and complain about how he requested specifically no mayonnaise on his Subway sandwich.
Yeah, he'd be like complaining about the grammar on the menu at like a restaurant.
Excuse me, this phrase is in quotation marks, and that suggests that it's sarcastic, and I'm just bothered by this. Why wouldn't you fold and underline it instead? Don't you see that by saying quote unquote organic toaster pastries, you're suggesting as if it's not organic at all. Would you please revise this, because you will confuse people.
Because it is carbon-based after all.
Yes. Yes, I suppose in some technical accuracy.
Technically,
are you saying
organic?
Is this mercury-based or something? I'm very bothered by this. You really should correct it. You never know what will happen.
All right, everybody, this isn't a honeycast, but I'm giving you homework anyway. We need art of Karen Mordecai.
Oh,
extra points if you give him the hairdo.
Well, I mean, he does stab people. That sounds pretty Karen-like to me.
He doesn't call the police. That's one thing he doesn't do.
No, he does not call the police. He's not that degree of Karen.
He's not that kind of Karen.
Yeah.
No, instead he just kills for them.
Right. He just takes the law into his own hands.
I feel like Mordecai would. Lots of the characters would be very ACAB. Mordecai, I'm sure, has opinions.
Yeah, except for Freckle, who just doesn't know any better yet.
Well, in our discussions, I said, like, in a way, he would learn faster than anybody because he interacted with them. Yeah, he's just like, oh, they're fucked up.
He'd have been pretty quickly disenchanted about the whole thing.
Yeah, Mordecai's just a Karen with a gun.
He's a Karen with a gun. That's gonna be the subtitle of the film, I think. Karen with a gun.
Okay, did we want to we can answer the last two questions and then we are done.
Okay.
So from Joyce Rodriguez, any storyboarding tips? Oh, storyboarding.
It's such a big topic.
It's hard to summarize that in the space of like a minute. But
I think watching, like, from my point of view, I don't do storyboards per se. I do thumbnails for comics, but a lot of like things that have helped me is just like watching movies for how framing is done and like how to set up a scene. And...
I would study cinematography, anything that you can get your hands on for cinematography, because so much of storyboarding is like blocking your shot and choosing like an interesting way of telling the story just from like how the characters are standing around. Mm-hmm. But there's like a lot of little technical details too that take years to learn, because film is its own language, and the way things are cut and stitched together and how people communicate with each other on a project. If you're gonna storyboard, I mean, like, make a cartoon and then understand that you're gonna have to draw like a rough blueprint of how the cartoon will go before you actually start anything. Like, you don't start each scene from scratch. You start with like a drawing. And if you start making cartoons, you're going to start understanding that there's ways to like step by step this to abbreviate it. Simply just getting the simply just going, oh, I drew some panels and now it's a board. Okay, but how do those panels communicate to other people down the line that what they need to do? A phrase that I learned in a very good boarding class was clarity is key. Your job as a storyboard artist is to communicate in a visual way between the script and everybody else. You are the first person to make it visual. Sometimes you don't even have anything but the storyboard, and then all the designs and everything happen afterwards. It's a really, really difficult job. Very few people can do it well. It's highly skilled, and yeah. But yeah, I mean, with anything, do it and you will learn.
And I would also like find some storyboard artists. I know there's a ton of them on Twitter.
Sometimes they'll share their animatics and stuff. Mm-hmm. I will say one caveat when they're sharing stuff, the kind of work that gets shown to the public when it comes to storyboarding is different sometimes than what is shared internally. Mm-hmm. What is shown to the public is often prettier. And
like you clean
more
it up
complete looking.
Clean it up for presentation. Like I've seen a lot of like quote unquote Spielberg boards, and they're like each board is like an illustration. And it's like, you guys didn't do that. Like no way. They cleaned it. I think they cleaned it up for like publishing in books, like making of books and things like that. But but you can at least still get an idea of like how the thought process behind how a scene is set up and staged properly.
A storyboard can be stick figures. Yeah, that's how rough it
stick
can
figures
be.
Is pretty much
I was about to say a lot of the internal boards that I've seen, I was shocked by because they all just look like potatoes.
Yeah,
but like really clear potatoes. Like you understand
exactly you know where the potato is looking and what it's sitting on and where it is in the room.
It just
like the staging and the movement's all perfect, but they look just like potatoes.
Yeah, it needs to. There's a limited amount of information it needs to convey. It does not need to be pretty. It's like utilitarian. So,
boards are very utilitarian, but and I'd say. Do not use what you see, like those gorgeous, like Marvel animatics and stuff, as a baseline for how to board. Honestly, just do stick figures. My other tip would be watching films with good cinematography, or just a film that you like.
I've seen.
And then when there's a particular exercise that I use that was really good for learning. Every time there's a cut, pause. And draw that frame on like a tiny little square in a sketchbook. Like try to duplicate it. Just roughly, get a sense of like the shading where the characters are standing, that kind of thing. Make it small, like little itty bitty post-it size. Not even a big post-it, a little post-it. Just have a series of those rectangles like in your sketchbook, and just every time there's a cut, pause, draw it. Mm-hmm. It will basically teach you by way of your own hand to develop an eye for these things. Yeah. You will start to notice like why and when things cut, where characters are looking, how the lighting is,
how focal points work, and changing focus and like framing a scene so that like you have a foreground, middle ground, and background, and all of that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. Like how you convey mood, how like different camera angles can make like change the feel of something, like from like looking down at something to make it seem smaller than it is, or looking up at something to make it seem bigger than it is, and things like that. Like all of that stuff is, and it's kind of intrinsic to comic art as well. So probably you can learn things by just reading comics. But yeah, I mean, you can go and find lots of storyboards for films out there, probably in PDF format online and things like that as examples. But again, bear in mind that they probably cleaned it up for presentation more than they would have for utilitarian purposes. But yeah, I don't know what else to say. Like,
it doesn't have to look pretty until it's done.
Oh, and remind them of the 180 rule. Of course, there's a 180 rule. Like,
I mean, again, it would take a while to go over, and we're already at 8:32, so I don't want to like we have learned
there's
that
a lot to
our
it.
last Lacka chat was 7 hours long, and we're starting to learn that maybe that's a bad idea.
Because it's hard to Oh, hey,
Yeah,
thank you,
well, you do
Knox.
have a couple more questions. We have a donation, and so I will read that off because if you donate, then I will keep answering questions.
Yeah, if you keep donating, we'll keep talking. But yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, Knox specifically donated just to push our deadline forward.
Thank you, Knox.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Much
Okay,
appreciated.
so you've purchased $10 extra of time.
Put the coin in the
so-
machine.
Thanks, Lord. That's what we're here for.
Like one of those horses at the.
Also, I'll answer Orion Kairos's question. Then, forgive me for being a dumbass, but will Lackadaisy be a film or a series?
Yeah.
This is a short movie.
Yeah.
It will be. We're trying to. It will be like 18 minutes, basically, give or take some because of credits and etc. But I'm trying very hard not to let it go beyond that because that is more money, and we do not have that money. It also takes more time, but we would like it to be a series.
Yeah. So
that's what we're hoping.
The point of this is to come out with a fully completed story unto itself. It's a short film, works as a standalone, but it's also a tool we can use to pitch as a series. So. But we can't say like whether or not it could ever become a series is totally seems so arbitrary a decision at this point. Like we can't like predict what.
Oh, I have a great idea. By the way, that would be a fun way to close this out or include this on Shop Talk.
Okay.
Donations for us to discuss aspects of some of the sheets and stuff, because you're bringing up these sheets and it's like we have so much we could say about them, honestly. That might be fun. Now we're coming to the end of it, so this is more of an idea for later. But I think that might be fun.
Yeah. And if you have ideas for people you'd like to hear from,
feedback from you guys, like what do you want to hear from us? Like what do you want to hear from Shop Talk? Because I know there's so many podcasts where there's like a bunch of voice actors on and that kind of thing. There's like Honeycast is largely voice actors.
Honeycast.
Honeycast. It's basically Honeycast where people goof off and make Ashley uncomfortable. And that's your brand. But we would like to figure out like what kind of flavor is this going to be. I really love talking about animation, and for some people want to listen. People listen to me about it. I don't know why, but if we can like kind of make the whole process more transparent, then we'll get more cool cartoons from people. Because it won't look like there's like this weird obscure path to doing everything. It's like no.
Yeah, you kind of normalize it really like as a thing that people can do, and you make the more people do it, the more clear it is like the path that other people have to do it, and the more people catch on like, oh, I can do this thing if I want to, and feel less inhibited, less like there are fewer hurdles if other people have kind of forged the way. So yeah, we'd like to see more of that, and we'd like to talk to other creators. And we were like,
we have many ideas. I have been in touch with one other person who, I guess I could mention her, but it depends if she has the energy. But Vivs was very interested in coming on and chatting with us.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And that'd be really cool because Vivs has put in so much energy and effort and stuff that it's like I just want to listen to her talk even. And I think we come from slightly different angles on this, so it's like always cool to see like how's your path? How's that going? It's like Hell Puppy has a very different path than Lackadaisy, and part of that is just the nature of things. Like Lackadaisy's been around for over a decade, so the path we took works for that. For a different project, that might not be the case, and so I'd like to bring on people that can present other ways of doing things, because that might work better for you, the audience, to learn from than just what we're doing. Not everybody has a comic that's been going on for 10 years that is sustaining the artist in question, and then they can branch out. So how do you start from scratch, for instance? Well, that's a different answer. That's a different question.
So if there are people doing projects like this, doing their own animations, or who are working on these types of projects in some capacity, and you want to hear from them, let us know. We'll reach out to them and see if they're
Yeah, we
interested.
would love to talk to them. The part of the purpose of this also is that we want to get more funding for our project, but we also would like to.
Yeah, we want to help promote other people too, because we are all about the indie development stuff. So yeah,
it's like I would like to take what we have and keep the ball rolling and just get a general interest in indie animation, because I see so much coming out of games, like the degree of interest and investment that people have in indie games versus like the AAA studio stuff. And I feel like animation could stand to have more of that, frankly. Absolutely, I think we could learn a lot from our neighbors in the medium. So I would totally love to chat with people. Somebody mentioned the team behind Satina. If I can get in touch with them, I would love to chat with them. That was very funny. I have indie animators that I would like to reach out to. And I was like debating whether to reach out to them now or later, because I was like, let's see how this goes.
We did get some storyboard questions. It might be cool to see if maybe Kelly or Ashley Green would like to join us for a stream.
That would be neat, yeah. Because the lack of chat is pretty goofy, but I think something that's more
serious,
serious and directed.
Yeah, a smaller group of people hosting and talking trying to talk over. Like when there's like 10 or 12 of us, it's we're all talking over each other, and it's hard to, and it gets very goofy. But
also like like depending on different sessions, like you'll be on or off or whatever, like the kind of energy that you bring to a conversation when, like, if we were to hop into Honeycast is going to be radically different than this conversation, which is so much more low key and dry. But the kind of people I know who are probably into Lackadaisy are also probably into this kind of conversation. So I figure why not lean into that, because I'm not the most energetic and cartoonish person.
I cannot entertain like that. I can't do the tap dance. I just can't. I would just fall on my face. So
it's taken me years to develop any kind of streaming persona.
The only way I can entertain anyone is to very, very slowly draw a picture. And so, yeah.
Hey, take it from me. Apparently, just having horrible anxiety and freaking out for 3 hours straight works for a podcast too.
So what you're saying, I should take a lot more drugs and then stream.
Look, I drink 5 energy drinks a day for a reason, man. It makes for great content.
Maybe you should rethink that on behalf of your man. I think Shop Talk would be a little bit different, though, if I just sat there and just started chowing down on edibles and just getting increasingly worse. I don't think it would be Shop Talk anymore. It would be their own tongue.
We gotta be
probably Fable crying about how much they love the characters and feel upset that they're not doing them justice. And speaking of which, I'm just staring at this Rocky sheet. I love this. Look at the boy. It's the boy. The good noodle. Look at him, briefly contemplative with his violin. Why can't you be like this more? Why do you ever put the fiddle down?
Yeah, if he was just playing it all the time, he'd be tolerable, I suppose. But
he does have the job in the band despite everything somehow. So
he does have that because he's not. I mean, that's the one thing he's actually kind of good at is playing a violin. So.
If you're good enough at it, then you can be really weird. You're like, well. You can, really good violinist, though.
You have to be a lot
really
more,
exactly
to get away with being that eccentric, you have to be a lot more famous than Rocky is. So. All right. If we have no more
my
questions,
bird is making sleepy noises, so he wants this. He wants a smoochie to good night, and I think that is.
It is getting late. It is getting late.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I think if there are no last questions, we will wrap things up and say.
Not unless someone wants to donate more money. But...
Yeah. And Ashley, if you had anything else to say, feel free to speak up. If you
pay your taxes. Kiss your mothers goodnight, and
wash your hands and wear your mask properly.
Respect your fellow man.
There you go.
And don't drink Mitzi's bathwater.
Oh God.
Or do, depending on what mood you're in. I can't stop you.
No,
I don't know. I'm not your dad.
Do as you will. All right,
But
everyone.
yeah, thank you so much, guys, for having me on. It's been lovely.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much
you
for
for
joining
popping
us.
on. I
here.
hope you had a good
It was
time.
a real pleasure chatting with you.
Thank you again to Newt for fielding the questions. I really appreciate your involvement and makes things go smoother. I'm sure this is a lot easier than Lackachat, at least. Hopefully,
Just a little bit.
just a little bit. But yeah, this is a good time. I had a good time. I'm hope we can do another one in the future. We'll see. But yeah, in the meantime, for folks who want more, do check out the Lackadaisy server. What is it? Discord.gg/Lackacord, was it? Or was it
Lackadaisy?
Lackadaisy. Okay, yeah. Like discord.gg/Lackadaisy. You can find the official fan community server. We have about once a month we do something called Lackachat, where we it was formerly just Tracy and Newt talking about stuff and answering questions, but as the animation got going, it I've been dragged on board. We have like a lot of the voice actors will show up. We're gonna probably have the board artists in for next Lackachat, and eventually we'll have the animators. We would just have them in the next Lackachat, but there's so many that I would like to have a session that's just them. Well, at least focused on them specifically.
Yeah.
So we'll be doing that. And yeah, the voice actors are a joy and a half. You guys heard Benny; she's wonderful, and she's like they're all exceptional people, and I love them so much. And I really hope we can keep working together. But yeah, we are enjoying making cartoons. We really like to talk about making cartoons and cartoons in general, and help other people make cartoons. So that would all be amazing. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. I hope you had a good time. This has been Shop Talk with myself, Fable Siegel, director of Lackadaisy, and Tracy Butler, the creator of Lackadaisy, and also our Newt, our wonderful community manager, and the chat cowboy, and Ashley Nichols. Thank you so much for showing up and talking about Hell Puppy. It's been really fun to listen to you. I have been enjoying Hell Puppy's development so much. It's been great to see stuff trickling in on that. It is adorable.
And I'm excited to see your trailer come out.
It is the rise of DeviantArt. We are growing up.
All the DeviantArt kids grew up and now
just remember, kids, if us weird DeviantArt people with our OCs and pastel sparkle dogs and talking cats can get our stuff made, so can you.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, God forbid the world sees my comic animated. It'll be a horror show.
But that's I would watch it.
I would watch it too. But I think I gotta finish this first.
Animation and horror together, yes, please.
Oh, I would adore doing that. But first I gotta get one thing done. And probably keep working on pages of my comic, which I hope to get back to. I really hope to get back to. I love it so much. But yeah, thank you everybody for showing up. I appreciate your donations. It is very welcome.
Yeah, thank
even
you
$1
so much. That was really wonderful of you. It's our first time doing any kind of super chat thing. So thank you for our inaugural.
Muchas gracias.
Yeah.
Merci.
Once again, all of that money will go toward. Well, we will be splitting it with our guests, and we will put it toward our productions respectively. So
yes,
yeah,
it is basically the money goes towards paying the crew.
Yeah,
and
it goes toward making
fed.
cartoons. So.
Yeah, we gotta provide them good on tuna. They need the tuna.
Yeah, gotta keep them fed so they can keep drawing.
Yeah. Speaking of,
wait, you guys are feeding your crew? Fuck.
Gotta craft.
I mean, it's like some peanut butter and crackers.
Yeah.
But...
I've just been converting them all to Aeritarians.
Wait, I'm gonna. Before we go, Tracy, do you have that picture that I did of Rocky with the tuna that you can bring up?
Oh, where is it?
I think it's in design discussion.
Let me find it.
Yeah, there it is. Just scroll up a little bit. Just show the audience.
Okay, hold on.
Once he was finished, I was like, "Good boy, have some tuna."
Oh my god, we have so many channels in this server now.
Design discussion.
I got it.
1 second. We'll get there. It'll be really funny when you guys see it, I swear. It'll be totally worth the wait. Absolutely worth the wait. It's so quality. It's beautiful, Joe. Yeah.
Why did I do that?
It took me so much time, too. All the effort. It's a work of art. Yeah.
I wish I had a drum roll sound effect on my soundboard.
His mouth was open, it just...
It's just like, let that keep going until it shows up. No, you gotta replay it. It's not here yet.
Spam the button. Spam the button.
Okay.
Keep going.
No.
Oh god, it's not
there
here
we go.
yet.
Yeah, it's there.
There we go.
Drumroll doesn't work if it's already there.
Kind of kills the joke,
It sounds
doesn't
more
it?
like Tommy Gunfire than.
Oh shit! Freckle found the gun. He was a good boy. He earned his tuna, so I had to.
Beautiful.
I like it's not just bumblebee tuna; it's reverse bumblebee tuna. Inverted tuna.
Oh.
What are you doing, Tracy? What is this?
Tracy.
What is Tracy doing?
Okay. On that note.
And on that note,
Just give them a can of tuna. They'll have to open it with their teeth, but you know.
Yeah,
Right.
only Rocky can manage. Oh thank God, I'm useful.
Yeah, Rocky finally finds a use for it.
He's a professional can opener.
That's how he survived all these years, just like biting cans.
The hobo life was not as bad to him as one
Yeah,
would.
that's why that's why they kept him around. He was useful. Just, Rocky, open your mouth. They just like.
Well, that's got to be a mini comic now. We need more like
Yes.
Hobo Rocky.
I guess so. Yeah. We gotta open the beans. All right. All right.
Okay, thanks everybody. I think that's the end of
That's
Shop
the
Talk.
end. Everyone, good night.
All
Thank you
right.
so much. We love you.
Bye. Good night.
See you soon.
good night,
Take care,
everybody.
everyone.